filed a lawsuit against our neighbors.
You know, it's a shame. We live in Louisiana. I have this beautiful home. Look.
Oh my God, that is beautiful.
We pay hard-earned money. My husband and I work every day
The porch
to earn
swing.
this, to live here. And this is what we have to deal with. Our crazy-ass neighbors who have called the police on us over 27 times for bogus things has decided to put up this fence smack dab in the river.
Oh!
Now today, on Mother's Day, while I sit outside to enjoy this view here in the South, I have to look at this ugly fence they put up solely to block us from utilizing our property.
Insane.
To be able to go fishing with our boys on the river. It wasn't enough that we went to court, the judge threw everything out, said everything was bogus, that now they want to put up a fence so that we can enjoy what we pay every day our hard-earned money for.
There's no way that fence is legal. We got a lot to unpack.
I just want to jump on real fast. Those of you asking for an update, the fence is still there. You can see it right there. It goes along the waterway.
So annoying.
Our properties are a little unique. This is her home. And then the water comes up in between our homes. And then this is my home. So we live on a natural scenic waterway or a river. And this is actually a drainage easement she put the fence up on as well. So there's multiple violations here.
This has to be like the pettiest thing we've ever seen on my channel. The lengths you went to be that petty to put that fence there.
And we are working on having it removed, but we do have to take the proper steps in having it removed. And hopefully we can get something going here soon. But a little backstory, kind of where we come from with all this. We moved here about 3 years ago, and from the day we've moved in, it's been nothing with issues with her. She's called the police on us numerous times, multiple times, over silly things as far as golf carts, music, even as far as the boys fishing in her water and the fishing line, the lure going into her waterway or her water, and she's called the police. We've never received a citation. We've never gotten a ticket. They've always, for the most part, said that there was nothing they could do. And yet we still had continued to get calls. Well, she files what they call peace bond against us. I never knew what that was before. But basically, she wanted us to put up $1,000, and then she had this list of things that she didn't want us doing, and one of them was, say, music, or the dogs, or jump.
I cannot imagine living like this for 3 years. And I don't think it's gonna get better.
Into the water, or the fishing line in the water. If we didn't do any of these things in a 6-month time frame, then we would get our $1,000 back. But if we did, then she got to keep our $1,000. The judge threw that out, and we thought we were finished.
What?
We thought it was over with. He told her basically to leave us alone, and that the things that she was calling on were ridiculous. Well, fast forward to today, it's all started back up again. She called recently about the music, and then you saw my post about the fence, and then yesterday was the Marine police coming out because of the boys causing a wake. So it's a battle, and has been a battle for a long time, and I will keep you guys updated as much as I can, but it's been a ride.
This is going on even after going to court. This is a different level of a Karen.
Oh, here we go again. This time she's got the Marine police here.
Shut up.
Because the boys were riding in the boat behind the house. Not a big boat. This boat.
That's the boat that was causing the wake?
They're allowed to drive at their age. Back and forth right here. And they did a little fishing. But she's got to call the marine police.
Literally wants you to not exist in life or have any fun at all. I was like, where did they even have the room to make a wake because of your stupid fence? Wow.
Our neighbors have called the police on us 28 times. Here's the story. We moved into our new home in July of 2020. From day one, there was issues. As we're unpacking our things, our boys want to ride in their kayak that they have owned for a while but haven't been able to use it, and we didn't know it had ants all over it. So because we share a body of water and they just happened to be on her side, they jumped out in her backyard and ran across to me to get the ants off of them. Of course, we apologize and say that we didn't realize it was their property and that it wouldn't happen again. And before you come at me with, how did you not know it was your property? We had just moved in, it was day one, and when they jumped out, the way our properties are set up, it's very unique, and I didn't even see where they had come from. But of course, I apologized and said it wouldn't happen again.
Okay, but also not the end of the world. Like, the kid reacted, we didn't know any better, and we apologized, and it won't happen again.
Fast forward a couple of weeks, maybe, the boys are playing in the water and in their canoe with friends, and she has her husband come over asking them to get out of her portion of the water.
Portion?
We're like, okay, so we move them out of her portion of the water, but just mainly to keep peace and not cause any issues. We're very new. We don't want any issues. Here is where things start to get real and interesting. Police call number 1, when the boys were swimming in the water a different day with friends again. She called the police saying they were trespassing into her water. At the time, there was no property stakes or any type of marker showing anything that was her portion of water, even though water, in my opinion, isn't owned. And I should clarify, not just my opinion, in the state's opinion.
Thank you. That was my next question. I'm like, no. Like, I need to know if you can actually own portions of the water.
Or the law, whatever. After that, we had family out over from out of town, and she come out, this was in 2020, saying that we had too many people here and that we were causing too much noise and we needed to have people leave. Which brings us to call number 2. As you can see, and this is where it starts to get even more interesting, we're doing yard work. You can see there's plants all right there. We're adding plants to our garden, and we're using the golf cart to haul plants to and from. She called the police because we were using the golf cart on our own land, in our driveway. She actually made 2 calls this day. One was because we were actually in the street, I guess, with our golf cart. She had pictures of it. And then the other one was because we were using it within our own property. Then came the lawyer letter. Wait till you hear this. She sent us a certified letter from her lawyer saying that if we continue to trespass, actions were going to be taken against us. We had just moved in. It was very, very early on in moving in that this letter was sent. It also said that we were trespassing on a daily basis, not only us, but our kids and our dogs.
I'm so invested and I want to hear the rest, but at the same time, I already have a headache thinking about what you're dealing with on a daily basis. But let's continue.
Our neighbors have called the police on us 28 times, part 2. So we just got the lawyer letter in the mail and we're like, okay, this is real. She has a problem. She doesn't like us. She's a Karen, whatever. But we knew we had, a serious issue next door.
Karen is like an understatement.
Being that this was so early on of us moving in, we kind of felt like it was more of like a scare tactic. This letter, thinking that because she would send this letter to us from her lawyer that we're going to be like, oh man, we should stop living our life. And so that really wasn't the case, though. We kind of understood what was going on here and talked to a few people. We hadn't hired a lawyer at this point, but we needed to. Here is call 3. So on call 3, she called because she said our dogs were in her water and we intentionally threw the stick into her water to antagonize her. Here's our dogs in the water. Clearly you can see them playing. Did a stick get thrown? Possibly. I'm not sure. And were they in what she believes to be her water? Yes, they were. Now, up until this point, we've been nicey nice, right? We have been trying to, keep the peace and not really say much, kind of go with what she's saying until, we had friends over. It was my birthday, actually. And she once again sends her husband over to say that we have too many people. Now, at this point, I'm like, no. We don't have too many people. This is my house. This is my land. This is my right. And I'm not going to send anyone home. I'm not going to tell anyone to be quiet. And we're not going to change our lifestyle for you. She didn't like that very much and came out screaming. Now, at this point, like I said, we have been nice. So I go up to the property line and her and I have words. Of course, I was not nice. She was not nice. It was very ugly. My entire family watched it all go down. And it was pretty intense. And what's crazy is she didn't call the police. But don't get excited because it wasn't over yet. Here is police call number 4. This time over music at 11:30 on a Sunday afternoon while me and my kids were having a dance off.
I thought you were going to say 11:30 p.m. on a Sunday. And I was like, well, maybe depending on, the laws around your area.
On what we call our peninsula, which is where you saw that tree. She called the police because the music was too loud. And she was recording my boys, which I mentioned to the police officer, who said that unless there was criminal intent or there was any type of sexual, I forgot the wording he used, but basically he was saying that there was nothing he could do that because she was recording my kids.
Gotta switch my way.
Our neighbors have called the police on us 28 times, part 3. I'm actually going to try to speed it up a little bit because there's so many calls.
By the way, you guys, we are not watching every police call video, just so you know. Don't get scared. I'm not doing that.
That I want to get to the part that is actually pretty crazy. So police call number 5 and 6. 5 was because of loud music and 6 was because we were driving the golf cart again. And this time, actually, I tried to snippet the police report, but I couldn't get it to where it would fit on the screen. Anyway, the police report actually said, I'm tired of seeing my neighbor drive her golf cart. And actually, I should state that it wasn't a police report. It's only a call log because there was never an actual report filed because there was never any citations given. Okay, fast forward. Here we are at Christmas time.
They're literally going to block her number. They're like, ma'am, if you keep calling and we see your number coming through,
we're not picking up.
And our boys receive a GNU. Mind you, this thing goes maybe 8 miles an hour, tops. I think I know for sure it's smaller than a 9.9. My little guys rode that GNU back and forth. And we're having so much fun. Until, of course, she calls the sheriff or the police and says that we are causing a wake and eroding her property. She wants it to be a no-wake zone, and that she wants them to come out immediately. Now, she has the Marine Division come out this time. She also calls Wildlife and Fishery. This was in the first week of them owning this GNU. So, basically, this sums up 2020. Next up, 2021.
that was all in 2020? You were dealing with stuff pretty much every single day.
And this is where things get super interesting. And so here is 2021, and I have the property lines up here so you can get a better understanding of what I'm talking about. The circle of 5 is my house, so that house is circled, is mine. Then the arrow pointing in the water, that's the little triangle of water that she is saying is hers and that we are in all the time and trespassing. And then the other arrow is where I'm showing you the property line is and where we stood the time that we got in the argument, and then upcoming when I tried to make peace. So here we at 2021. My New Year's resolution was going to be to make peace with the neighbors, and I think you can probably go back to a previous video.
Bless you for that being like, I have to make a New Year's resolution to make peace with my Karen neighbor.
where I talked about this in more detail, but basically I brought fish to the property line that we had just filleted that day from catching them on the river as a peace offering, I guess, to try to make peace with a neighbor, and it was going to be my New Year's resolution. Aww. And it didn't work.
That visual was very helpful. Also, so jealous of your house and your property. It's spectacular.
Okay, here are the text messages between me and my neighbor who's called the police on us 28 times. We tried to make peace back in 2021 and exchange phone numbers, but it just made things worse. Okay, I'm going to summarize these to try to get through them quickly. You can pause it and read it if you want. But basically, we were out of town on this one, and she sent us a text message asking if we knew the boy who was on our property and he was using our kid's boat, and she wanted to let us know. You can see it was on January 7th. We had just went to the property line on January 5th and exchanged phone numbers and tried to talk it out. She sent us a picture of the child using she thought was our boat. And here it is right here. She said, they're using your motorboat right now. Are you good with that? We tell them at the top, see there, that's their boat. And it was their boat. It was our neighbor's grandson. He was actually on our property. We were out of town. And if you see here, again, you can pause it, but I'm going to summarize it. She basically is saying that he's fishing from our property and casting into her water, and she doesn't like it, and she thinks it's disrespectful and trespassing. So she's going to call the police.
She be up in everybody's business. Doesn't matter who.
We didn't find out until we got back from camping that she actually did end up calling the police on this boy. Only reason why we know that is because our other neighbor, whose grandson it was, told us after we got back. Here she just randomly sends us a picture of kids in golf carts. They weren't our kids, but she was basically saying, oh, this is illegal. These kids are looking for your kids, so that's your responsibility.
She's literally so bored. Is she just like a retired older woman at home, just watching everything around her and having a problem with anyone existing? This is crazy.
We tell her to go out there and ask their names. If she's so worried about it, go ask their names. She wants us to ask our kids to identify the kids' names. We were not willing to do that, of course, and told her it was none of our business. Okay, I'm going to read this one to y'all because this is where I told her, well, I'm not the police, nor do I enforce the law in any way, so I'm unsure why you keep messaging me about what you believe to be a problem. At this point, it has become harassment. You have harassed us since we've moved in. You apparently watch our every move and are making it to a point that we cannot enjoy the neighborhood and our home without you having something to say. My children have not done anything to you nor your property, so again, I am not sure why you continue to harass us. Please take your concerns up with someone else. Thank you. Of course, that did not sit right with her, and then she says communication will stop, although it did not. Trespassing by your kids, and that includes casting the fishing lines over here. Your dog's coming over here in the water is what she's talking about.
When I tell you, I would lose my mind. Lost. It would be gone. Gone. Oh my God. I'm so invested in this though. Like, I want all these details, every single detail.
Part 2 of text messages from my neighbor who's called the police on us 28 times. Okay, this is kind of a continuation from part 1 where she says communication is no longer going to happen, and any further trespassing into her water and whatnot. You can pause and read here. She talks about a letter that her lawyer sent us back in 2020. I think it was shortly after we moved in. It couldn't have been more than 2 months, where she said her lawyer sent a letter stating that we are, they're saying that they were constantly trespassing into on her land, and she owns her land and the air above her home. And if this continues, then further action is going to be taken. This text message is actually kind of further back before the no longer communicating text came. I just want to show you this because it shows here that she was just telling us that she was cutting some trees down. We're talking peaceful, whatever, trying to be nice. And we've always tried to be nice throughout this whole thing. But here then she goes, please tell your kids not to boat in the water on our side. Thank you. And again, just trying to keep the peace. So we say just did. Then she goes, and not to make wakes too. Thanks. Then after her, we're no longer going to communicate text. Here she says, this is why we asked her how we're breaking the law. You can pause and read, but basically she goes on to say it's because of golf carts and loud music after hours, which is not true. A lot of the things that she says are over exaggerated. For instance, our dogs had gotten out a couple times and just kind of sniffed around our mailbox. Didn't really go much further. We're in the street a little bit. And then she claims they're running around the neighborhood wild and out of control. Then she also says that that we're harassing her. After the no communication any longer text, here she comes to say that our son, when he was loading the boat onto the trailer to get it out of the water one day, she said that the back end of the boat went into their water, and that's what they're talking about as far as respecting their boundaries. And then she talks about the stake and hopes she didn't knock it down. Here's the stake she's talking about.
Oh my God.
This one right here. And when the water's high, you couldn't see it, so she was afraid that we were going to knock it down. She actually extended it after that. When the water went down, she extended it higher so you could see it at all times. And then here's another one that she keeps by the driveways to pinpoint where her property is. And one time my son knocked it down mowing the lawn, and that's what she's talking about, that we continually knock down her stakes. And she in court said that cost her $500 to replace. The worst thing about all of this, the only people that are suffering from this is my kids. My kids just want to have fun. They're young. They're having fun playing outside, enjoying the outdoors, not inside all the time. That's why we purchased this property, and it's just a shame that we have to put up with this.
I don't know what type of neighbor she would want living next to her. Like, her dream neighbor would be literally people who don't use the water, don't go outside, and just exist quietly in their own home. That's what she was looking for.
Y'all ready for this tea? I was going to make a part 4, but she beat me to it and added another call. Guess what for?
What?
My TikTok. She said that I had put her daughter on my TikTok. Not true. What? I don't even see her daughter. Shit, she don't even come out of the house. How am I going to have her on my TikTok? I've never said their names or anything about them personally or their private information. I don't even know anything about them. All I'm doing is telling my story and what's happening to me, how I'm being harassed, how she's harassing my family. So my TikTok is about me and my story. If anybody is putting anybody on record, it's her recording my children and recording minors. The audacity, right? Seriously, can't make this stuff up, guys. At least this time, though, the officer did say that he told her not to record my children and any minors.
Oh, good.
Have a good day, guys.
I was gonna say, we have the proofs of her taking pictures of just random kids in golf carts and boats.
My neighbor is a Karen on steroids. She calls the sheriff on us on a virtually daily basis, but this is call 30.
30!
It was actually yesterday
We've hit
that she
30.
called. So yesterday's call was because my son was fishing with jug lines, and for those of you who don't know what jug lines are, it's basically these lines you put in the water that's attached to either, like, say, an old milk jug or an old water bottle, and a line hangs down. You put bait on the hook and it naturally catches fish. It's free flowing, so it flowed down and got caught into her fence in the water. For those of you who don't know what fence I'm talking about, it's this one here.
The stupid
As he was
fence.
untangling his line in the fence, she happened to be cutting grass and started freaking out, saying that to get on his side of the fence. He tried to explain to her that he was trying to untangle his line from her fence and that the pirogue that he was in wouldn't fit on the other side. And before he could finish or explain to her what he was doing, not that it mattered because he was in the water, never on her physical land itself, but before he could finish explaining, she runs inside, literally runs inside to call the sheriff. Apparently she made it such a big deal that 2 sheriffs had to come out. So 2 units came out yesterday. The officer told me that she wanted to press charges and against my 13-year-old. He explained to her that he could not see a reason to press charges, but he would send it over to his detectives to make that determination. As mad as I am, there's no use of me trying to get back at her or yell at her or get angry.
No.
Because clearly she's not in her right mind. Clearly none of her family
You're
is.
dealing with, like, a narcissist.
She has 3 adult children living in her house. I'm sure that's frustrating enough. Then she sits at home all day. She doesn't work. She has nothing better to do than watch what I do. I'm sure she's pretty jealous of the fact that we have a outgoing family and doing things as a family all the time. They don't seem to really do a whole lot, and no one comes over. They don't go anywhere. She literally sits in her house all day, every day. Our neighbor claimed that our driveway was on her property and we were going to have to move it. Our driveway's on the left, hers is on the right. Both of our homes have been here 30 plus years. She also claimed that one of our trees was hers and she was going to build a bridge to maintain it. The big one right there in the corner, she said was hers. How do we know this? Well, because we had already had the neighbors call the police on us several times. So we wanted to make sure we're having people over. We wanted to make sure that we knew where the property lines were. And we already had a copy of our survey that was listed in MLS when we purchased our home from many years ago. And so we get out there, we get a metal detector, us and our friends, and we're measuring. And here she comes, just yelling, saying, "What are we doing? We're on her property." We're like, "No, ma'am, here's our survey," that she refused to look at. So she goes back inside, calls the police as usual, and says that it looks like a...
You could have a survey and a caring neighbor still will not care. They don't care. Unless it says what they wanted to say, they don't care.
A public beach out there, officer, and there's so many kids and they're all swimming in the water. My water. She, the following week, had an actual survey done and learned that the property line stops shortly before it meets the road, and it's also a servitude there, and she could not own our driveway, nor could she have us move it. And she did not own the tree that she claimed to own. In fact, she owned less land than she originally thought. But all this got me thinking. My kids and their friends loved the river and loved to play out there and swim and hang out. So I'm thinking, what if we put a beach out there? Had some sand, put in a launch. We should. I'm thinking that would be really nice.
100%.
And the kids would really enjoy it. What are your thoughts?
I think that's a great idea because I want to use your beach, to be honest.
Hey TikTokers, if you saw my video from yesterday with the audio recording of my neighbors, this is part 2 of that. She's tried to press charges on my 13-year-old. She was adamant about it. It's kind of where we've drew the line, and after 3 years of harassment has decided this is enough.
Guys, there is a note here that the part 1 video was flagged on TikTok and removed, so we're only catching part 2.
Oh, right there, sir. If you go down to the concrete over there, okay, that's where I went. He was in here. He was behind the mayhaw tree trying to pick up a water bottle. And I thought, oh, my God. I can't believe...
He's just trying to pick up a piece of trash?
Yes. And normally I would say, sir, good thing, right? But the history between us and what has happened, he knows not to come on this property. I'm fine. I want press charges, fine, whatever. I'm pressing charges. I am done. They have done nothing but
Is that the younger one or the older one?
This is the older one. This is like the 13.
Pressing charges.
Here she talks about that I lied about something, but she couldn't remember what it was.
She said yesterday, she lied again yesterday because that's going to the lawyer. That's all that stuff's going to lawyer because I know you can't do anything about that.
Right.
But
yeah, that would be a civil issue.
That's a civil issue, but this is criminal. This is criminal.
My son in the water getting his jug line is criminal.
Criminal.
And we were told by a lawyer every time they
Criminal.
do it, he's trespassing. That means she gets fined.
I wonder if she's explained to her lawyer what my kids are doing.
She knows better. They both know.
You're also looking at putting on record, or you would attempt to be put on record.
I'm gonna skip over this. This is from yesterday.
Document everything.
I get it.
And so we documented that he was in our water. If he cannot, I'm sorry, sir. I don't know what else to do. We are being harassed by them.
Would you just want the documentation to bring to your lawyer that we came out here and that he was there, versus trying to put criminal charges on a 13-year-old kid's record?
Well, I mean that gets expunged anyway when he's older.
Freaking believable. Unbelievable that she would even think that way.
It's still, not necessarily, but it could also still inhibit a lot of things too. It could still really screw up a kid's life.
It's not fair what he's doing to us. It's not fair with their parents. They're using their kids to do this to us, and it's not fair.
I really appreciate the officer trying to explain to her what she's attempting to try to do. Unfortunately, she can't see that. She doesn't understand that for some reason, that this could really hinder my son from doing things in the future, all because he was getting his fishing line out of her fence in the water while he was in his P-row at 13 years old. It's unbelievable. And this is why we've had enough.
I've had enough, and I'm not even involved, and my patience and anger is up to friggin' here, let me tell you. Update.
Okay, so I had just left my neighbor's house from confronting the gentlemen that were in my backyard, and was told by my neighbor that they work for her and that I am not supposed to be talking to them and for them not to talk to me. And she became irate and was yelling and screaming, and she said she was going to call the police, and I said she did need to call the police because she was out of control. And as I'm walking back to my house and getting to my back porch, I can still hear her yelling. At this point now, she's on the phone with the police department screaming that I'm harassing her, that I am causing trouble with her surveyors and the people that are working for her. And as you can see, they sent out multiple units. I want to say there was 5 units that day, and 2 of them left after they realized it wasn't that much.
5 units arriving to this house for that? Give me a break. It's like having the SWAT team roll up.
That was an emergency, but 3 of them, as you can see, are walking up to my porch. No ticket or citation or warning was given because there was nothing for them to give me a ticket for. I'm not sure if they spoke to the surveyors or not. And because there was no ticket or citation given, there was no actual full police report made. So again, it's only a CAD report or a call log that states what the caller who called it in said. So it's only going to be one-sided. There was no, statement from the surveyors themselves. Some of the calls that were made, I had kept note of, but when I went to go pull all the CAD reports or police reports, not all of them were there, I guess because maybe there wasn't enough for them to even record or keep track of. To me, it's so bizarre that she would call the police stating that I was causing all this trouble for someone that was on my property when she is the one who constantly calls saying that we are trespassing, yet she found it okay to send people onto our property without our permission.
This police department probably sees her name or her number popping up and they're like, we're not in office. You're not allowed to use 911 anymore, ma'am.
Actually, when I was on the property line talking to her and the surveyors, I mentioned that to her. I said, Bridget, what are you doing? Why are you sending people into our land? You know that if we were to do something like that.
Her name is Bridget. We've just been calling her Karen this whole time.
You would go crazy over that. And she said for me to get over it. I know this all seems so crazy that it seems almost like far-fetched and untrue, but this is a living nightmare.
Honestly, I wouldn't believe your story if you didn't have the audio recordings, all this evidence, because it's crazy to think someone's called the police like 50 times, genuinely.
Yes, let's talk about where my kids should be able to fish, use their boat, and play. This is normally where we would launch our boat.
Oh, I have always wondered this. I need to know. I need the specs.
And come through. But as you can see, she's got it blocked with this
Oh my god.
fence of whatever you want to call this thing. Such an eyesore. And this is the same fence that my son was getting his fishing line out of on the other side. And she called the sheriff saying that he was trespassing. But he was in his boat the entire time, never stepped foot off of his boat, and was wearing his life preserver and everything else that he was supposed to be doing. And she's trying to press charges on my 13-year-old for a fishing line. Also, she calls the sheriff whenever the fishing line, if we're fishing from our own property, as you see here, and it goes into that side of the waterway. She will call the sheriff because the fishing line went into her water.
Look at that stupid fence.
Now, we leave out of here.
That has to be the pettiest thing that we have ever experienced together on my channel. Lord have mercy. I could never.
And go right there through there to the main river. And as you can see, this is her backyard, and then this is ours here. And so it's kind of a unique situation. And I guess since her water is coming onto my property.
Wow.
Maybe I should call the sheriff like she would call on me. And just a reminder that she is trying to press charges on a 13-year-old for trespassing, getting his fishing line out of this dangerous fence she's put up. What an evil human.
The worst part is that I believe Bridget truly would call the police if your water was moving onto her property. I would not put it past her.
Okay, remember whenever the neighbor called the Marine Division on us for causing a wake? Well, we officially have a police report after 30 calls, our first one. Check it out.
Let's do it.
Okay, and you can pause and read if you want to, but on Monday, May 22nd at approximately 17:04 hours, Deputy Blank at Blank, assigned to the Special Operations Division Marine Unit, was dispatched to in reference to a no-wake zone violation. Upon arrival, the aforementioned location, the reporting deputy spoke with complainant. She and her neighbors who reside directly next to each other at Blank have been having a civil dispute for the past 3 years.
3 years in 2023. Oh my God. 2025, you're going to be at your 5-year anniversary with Bridget. Bless your soul.
During this time, there have been controversies over the use of the body of water that residents have access to. She also wished to inform the reporting deputy the young juveniles at the residence have previously trespassed onto her property. She elaborated on the incident by explaining that juveniles would fish from their own property, but their fishing line crossed onto her property. The juveniles' fishing line in the water on her side of the property line was construed as trespassing. She continued by stating approximately 2 years prior, she asked the neighbors not to cause a wake while operating their small flatboats in the slough. She was aware the slough she was referring to was a body of water that is not recognized by Blank as a no-wake zone area. She claimed the flatboats were causing erosion damage to her property and wished for the deputies to speak with them about the matter. She further showed the reporting deputy a video of the juveniles riding in a small motorized canoe, at which time both juveniles appeared to be wearing their personal flotation devices and no violations were observed. It should be noted was referred to Parish councilman to petition a no-wake zone area be established. Blank was advised there were no criminal charges which would be pursued at this time, but initial report would be generated documenting the incident. Shortly thereafter, the reporting deputy relocated to the neighbor's residence. Deputy Blank spoke with me, who resides at Blank, explained the concerns she had, and she stated her family members have to stay off of her property. She further advised her juvenile has a valid Louisiana boater safety card and adheres to the safety regulations anytime in the motorized vessel. Blank was advised to body of water was not recognized by the Blank as a no-wake zone area, and although no criminal charges would be pursued at this time, an attempt for civil lawsuit could be pursued. Upon concluding the investigation, Blank was advised an initial report would be generated documenting today's incident. Oh, that was tough to read with the blanks. But as you can see,
I'm really glad that you read it and I didn't.
She truly believes that a fishing line going in her portion of the water is trespassing and is trying to press charges against my son for trespassing. Criminal charges for a fishing line. Unreal, right?
It actually is unreal. And at what point, Bridget, at what point does this become embarrassing to you?
Y'all, I seriously can't make this stuff up. I had my boys outside cleaning up and cutting the limbs on the trees around the property line.
Oh,
and our neighbor comes outside yelling and recording them that our tree limbs were going into her water. And if we didn't pick them up immediately, she was going to call the police.
Oh, God.
Here they are cleaning them up. Just so you know what we're up against. Like, seriously? You have nothing else better to do than watch us out of your window and record my children cutting tree limbs off of our trees? We can hardly go outside without her saying something that we're doing wrong. It's out of control.
It's actually become a full-time job for Bridget over there. That's her duty every day. She's out there, camera ready, in her windows, watching, just waiting for the opportunity for you to do something wrong where she can call the cops and have a valid police report.
Hey TikTokers, let's talk about the lawsuit my neighbors has filed against us. Now remember, they filed a injunction or a restraining order and it was dismissed. This is the lawsuit side of things. I made some key points. This is not all the legal jabble. So this is just the key points from it. Now remember, this is pretty redundant because every time they've sent anything to us, it's the same old song and dance. We've been liable for damages because of making false and defamatory claims on TikTok. They have called to complain about these to numerous agencies and nothing has been done. We have created a nuisance. We intentionally cause emotional distress through illegal conduct. Minors have repeatedly trespassed. Our dogs and animals continually come onto their property. They sent a cease and desist letter regarding our legal behavior. Land survey stakes that we continually knock down of theirs has cost them money. Minor children have created waterborne incursions. We have disobeyed the HOA. We've operated gas-powered watercraft and caused wakes. We make false claims against them to the HOA. This has caused them emotional distress and it is extreme. We were negligent. We breached our duty of
Next time someone calls me dramatic, I'm just going to read this police report and this lawsuit.
code of conduct, and we've caused them damages. We will not allow them to enjoy their property. We invade their privacy. So that's what the lawsuit reads and what they're claiming. As I've mentioned before in many of my videos, we're not doing these things. These are false claims against us. The cease and desist letter, I believe, in my opinion, that they misled their previous attorney who sent it because the things that we were doing were not illegal. The water is not theirs. It is not ours. It's for everyone to enjoy. The fence, the big one that a lot of people have asked me about, is still there. It was not mentioned in court because it wasn't part of the injunction. As I've read just now, it's also not part of the lawsuit against us. Some other things I recently found out from a little birdie is that they have accused us of staring at them on our property and that we continually stare while they're outside at them, and it was in a threatening way. They said that their daughter feels and has said the same thing. They also say they just want us to leave them alone. And
Ma'am, there is nothing we want more than to leave you alone and to not speak ever again. Trust me.
another big thing is she said that we were disciplined and then things quieted down for a little while and then we started up again. We were never disciplined. We were never given a citation or a ticket or told that we were doing anything wrong. So never at any point were we ever disciplined, and we never stopped living our life. So that's not true either. None of the things I've said on TikTok have been untrue. And in fact, they're all legal documents that I usually read from. Okay guys, I'm gonna do 2 videos today. If you've been following along about my neighbors who's been harassing us for the past 3 years, I'm gonna do the third part of the audio right now, but then after this I'm gonna do a video of the water fence and kind of where we are and give you an update on that. So if you haven't watched the audio, go back and watch the other 2, and here's the rest of it from yesterday.
The other audio part is in part 1.
We're using their kids to do this stuff, and it's not fair. It's not fair.
I get it. And that's beef between the adults, between you and the parents.
No, let me just say,
And-
She's going to get her husband.
no, because we're not, no. He's like, if you'll go on the Google record, and I'm fine with that. And, but he's like, just coming over to pick up a piece of trash. It's not this innocuous. He came over to pick up a piece of trash. He knows not to do
And look,
it.
I'm not, and I just told you, I'm not sitting here trying to paint you to be a bad person. Like I said, I don't know y'all's history. I don't live here. I've never dealt with y'all, like anything between you two before. So this is my first time hearing about any of this.
Well,
So-
we can't let this pass. Because
And what I just explained to her is, like, if you want something documented, like saying that we came out here, that he was doing what he was doing, to bring up to your attorneys whenever y'all deal with that, with all the civil stuff, by all means. But
this is criminal. It's criminal.
and I gotta get that cleared. Anyway, not necessarily. I gotta get that cleared. So, because that's, as far as I know, and that's coming from anybody that works out on the water, that any accessible waterway like that, that's all that, like, you can't own the water. So you might be able to own the land, but you can't own the water.
No, that's not true.
And that-
That's not
here
true.
we
The water
Okay.
on this
Telling the police officer
on
that's
this
not
And
true.
you cannot own the water, and for somebody to travel on it.
Now, there's case law and there's precedent with Louisiana.
Yes.
with people that have canals. Like they can block the canal off because the water is not publicly accessible.
Right, but that canal's also not blocked off.
That's not true.
This is whichever, wherever that leads out to. I'm not exactly sure where that leads out to,
But anyway, they need, clearly, if that boy, if he had fallen over and he had
They're just not happy that the police officer is not agreeing with them and telling them what they want to hear.
drowned, they would have a case against us.
And you don't think they would? Of course they would.
You know,
well, if they want to sue you for anything, they can, but that doesn't necessarily mean they'll win either. Just like you guys are going to try to sue them for the defamation and stuff, that doesn't mean you're automatically guaranteed to win.
She's over there.
That's fine. I'm about to go over there and talk to her. But
So,
Well, let's say that.
but
And they're so worried about my son in a P-row with his life jacket on, and some of the water you can actually touch back there, and yet their water fence isn't a thought of danger.
I truly love that she has just continued to film all these TikToks despite the defamation case, and she's like, I'm still gonna tell this entire story as it unfolds.
Remember when my neighbor called the police on my 13-year-old for trespassing in her water while using his P-row? Well, I just downloaded the police report. Let me show you.
All right.
Okay, so on June 15th, 2023, the deputy was dispatched to her home in reference to a trespassing complaint. She stated that my son had trespassed onto her property and advised there was issues ongoing with us. She also stated that she had contacted different agencies around the parish approximately 30 times, including the Sheriff's Office and the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. Additionally, she stated there was an ongoing defamation lawsuit happening between the neighbor's family and herself. That's new. She stated she recently put up video surveillance cameras per her lawyer's request and planted metal posts along her surveyed land within the water on the side of the slough connected to the free-flowing canal. The posts were to indicate the surveyed property line between her residence and hers. She explained that on today's date, the juvenile went into the pirogue, slid around the furthest post, and retrieved a plastic jug with a line running through it out of the water. When observed, she stated she got off her lawnmower and yelled at the juvenile to get off of her property. Without stepping foot out of the pirogue, the juvenile took the jug and returned to her
Guys, it's like I can't. Hearing it more than once, I'm like, this woman has pressed criminal charges against this kid for getting his fishing line out of her. How bitter and miserable do you have to be in life to be doing all of this? Should we feel bad for Bridget? You must have a very miserable life.
the juvenile's property. She showed the deputy the video surveillance on her computer due to the footage being stored on her computer, and that blank was not completely sure on how to fully operate the system. She was unable to load it to the system. The deputy asked her to save the footage until she could be provided to the citizens link.
How convenient.
Deputy explained how she could not own free-flowing water and how the juvenile retrieving his own property had no criminal intent. But she was adamant about pursuing criminal charges against the juvenile and proceeded to contact her attorney. So I guess she intends to sue us for defamation of character because of my TikToks, so that's new news. Nothing I have said on here has been a lie, or have I ever named her name or anything like that. So she can do what she wants, I assume.
Oh, is Bridget a fake name? Oh, darn. Well, that's okay.
And the fact that the police officer has told her that she cannot own free-flowing water, there was no criminal intent, and she's still adamant to try to pursue charges against my 13-year-old, so that she thinks she's above the law, I assume. That she doesn't have to listen to them by them telling her she cannot pursue charges with my son crossing the waterway that she does not own. Help me make sense of this.
Yeah, that's literally delusion and entitlement. Narcissistic behavior.
Hey TikTokers, so here's the update you guys have been looking for. On July 27th, my neighbors served my family a restraining order, as well as a lawsuit for defamation of character and harassment. We went to court yesterday on the restraining order side of things only, and I'm going to read the restraining order part to you now. The restraining order part read as follows. It is ordered that a temporary restraining order is hereby issued on the plaintiffs furnishing a zero deposit directly to the defendants, us, restraining and enjoining and prohibiting defendants from harassing plaintiffs, defaming plaintiffs, trespassing onto the plaintiff's property, playing excessively loud music at decibel levels beyond what the law allows, posting and publishing on any TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and all other social media platforms any and all false, defamatory, harassing, disparaging, and all other references to plaintiffs, whether those references specifically name or identify the plaintiffs or otherwise obliquely or indirectly refer to the plaintiff, allowing their dogs, pets, animals, children, relatives, family, and guests trespassing and entering upon the property of the defendants, with which is located at, discharging firearms at or on the premises of our address, except in the event of a legitimate and legal cause for self-defense and any other purpose allowed by law. It was further ordered that we would appear to court on July 31st. So remember, they served us on the 27th and we had to appear in court on July 31st, which we did. And then it got extended to yesterday. So yesterday was the day that we actually ended up going to court for the restraining order itself. Now, here are some of the things that she said that we have caused her damage or she wanted relief for. And that is general damage for emotional distress.
Literally, she should be paying you and your family for therapy sessions.
Loss of peaceable possession of real property, loss of use of enjoyment of real property, invasion of privacy, loss of and or damage to and or impairment of reputation, personal humiliation, embarrassment, mental anguish, any and of all provable special and pecuniary damages, injunctive relief, prohibiting and restraining defendants from engaging in the aforesaid conduct that is contrary to law, legal interest, and recoverable costs.
There's so many different charges and lawsuits that are happening here that I'm already getting lost because there's just so much. My mental state. She should be paying for my therapy as well.
Hi, TikTokers. We had an eventful weekend this weekend, so I want to fill you in. If you've been following along, you'll know that my neighbors have been harassing us for the past 3 years. Well, we had noticed that she had been using some property that wasn't hers, or had been on some property that wasn't hers, and you would think that she would respect the boundaries, considering she keeps her property markers out all the time.
Oh, have the rules changed?
And she should know where her property starts and ends. But let me just show you what I'm talking about. So as you can see, I've labeled them. B's house for Bridget is the third one down, and you see that red line that outlines the properties there, and you can see that little piece of land sticking out past the red line that is not hers. And it's actually kind of almost like in her backyard, so it appears to be like it's her backyard, but like I said, because she keeps the property markers out at all times, she should very well know that it does not extend all the way out into the water. But since she wasn't having a clear understanding as to where they were, we went ahead and had installed no trespassing signs with the permission of the landowner, of course. And it just so happens to be that they're right there in her backyard, unfortunately. But at least now she knows where those are, and, you know, she'll respect the boundaries like she expects us to.
Oh, God.
I don't know if she was there or not when we were installing them, but her husband came out to talk to my husband as he was installing them and asked what he was doing. My husband said that, you know, we were on someone else's land, not their land, and so there was no reason for them to be having this conversation. And of course, he doesn't believe that there is this, he calls it the mythical landowner. There is indeed a landowner, and that landowner definitely has given us permission to be on his property. He was very cordial and just asked a few questions, and they went back inside. No police were called or sheriff.
Well, at least the husband can be cordial and have a normal conversation.
Was showed up because, like, I assume they know that that's not their property, and they have no right to call the sheriff on us for being on someone else's land.
I have a good feeling Bridget's not going to be very happy when she comes home and sees those no trespassing signs. It's getting petty. It's getting petty. I mean, it already was petty.
Hey, TikTokers, I have something interesting to show you. But before I do, if you're new here, my neighbor has called the police on us 30 times and continues to harass us. Now the interesting part. You see, it's an election year for the sheriff. And look who's endorsed someone running for sheriff. Now, it's not the fact that she's endorsing him that I find interesting. It's the fact that she calls herself a patriot, when just last week she was trying to press charges on a minor for boating and fishing and getting his fishing line stuck in her water fence. And look, it's her right to endorse anyone she wants to. She can endorse the sheriff, the councilman, and good for her. But it's not going to change anything, because right is right and wrong is wrong. And a little birdie told me that she thinks that my boys being in a boat is a liability, yet she doesn't find her water fence a liability, the fence that has 2 cables running across it that you can't even see. Stop the madness. Anyways, I thought I'd share that. Interesting how the internet works, huh, guys?
I mean, coincidence? I think not.
Our neighbors have been harassing my family for the past 3 years. And as of last Friday, we officially filed a lawsuit against them.
Yes! We have been waiting for this. We have been waiting for this, for a countersuit, for a lawsuit on your part. Yes! Finally, we've done something here.
Here is how our lawsuit reads, and what we filed a lawsuit against them for. Of course, continued harassment, calling the sheriff's office even after we have never been cited or found to have a violation. They've reported us to the sheriff's office for false and unfound claims on baseless accusations of violations, laws, or statutes, and have been told the same by the sheriff's office. This constitutes continued intentional infliction of emotional distress and or negligent infliction of emotional distress. And it is done under the intent to stifle the emotional state and or peaceful possession of the property of small children and their parents. They performed in a negligent manner for similar purpose. The defendants continue to engage in and campaign against us by reporting us to the HOA, code enforcement, and other agencies false and baseless claims. The continued reporting has become public instances.
I always wondered, I'm like, can't they be hit with something for a false police report by now? Because they were all false.
And constitutes intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligent inflictions of emotional distress, defamation, invasion of privacy, and harassment. They've engaged in communication, discussions in interested groups for the purpose of defaming our character and harm our reputation within our community, our jobs, and our careers. They've taken pictures and videos of our minor children and retained these pictures and produced some to third parties. The defendants have maintained security cameras attached with floodlights directed at our property, including the fronts and sides of our home. And again, filming the members of my family, which constitutes a continued nuisance, intentional inflictions of emotional distress and or negligent inflictions of emotional distress and invasion of privacy. Our lawsuit reads also that we're seeking damages for this emotional distress, for embarrassment, mental anguish, harassment. All of these things are listed in there and what we're seeking damages for, as well as the cost of our attorney fees. We are tired. We are just a young family wanting our kids to enjoy the river and be little boys. And it is their right to do so. It's our right to do so. They don't own the water. We don't own the water. We're just here to enjoy the sportsman's paradise of our state.
It really is such an incredible piece of property. That's a dream home. For an adult, for kids, that entire property is an absolute dream. And the fact you can't even use it in peace. But it's like, I'm not leaving this property. You are not going to drive me out of here because you're crazy. It's not happening.
This can't be real life. I live in a simulation.
Oh no.
Now they come to us and say they want to settle outside of court and come to some type of an agreement.
Oh!
We're like, okay,
Oh, surprise.
what you got?
We don't want to go to court now. We want to settle outside of it.
How convenient for you. Because you know you're going to lose in court. Take them to court. Take them to court.
And at first they say that they want us to stop doing everything they have in their lawsuit and they'll be willing to drop their lawsuit, and we're like, nah, this is not how this works. So we're like, look, We will drop our lawsuit if you drop your lawsuit. If you live your life and we live ours, point your cameras down your own property line, not at our home. Stop calling the police on us frivolously and filming my kids. And then I wouldn't have anything to talk about on my story on social media like they're so concerned about. And basically, just mind your business. So here's the part that can be real life. They come back in response with, yeah, they agree that they'll drop their lawsuit if we drop ours. We're like, okay, cool. Then they basically say that they're not willing to move or reposition their camera. They're not in agreement that they're going to stop calling the sheriffs because what constitutes a real emergency is what they said. Like, what? What? You don't know what a real emergency is? How about a fishing line going in the water is not an emergency? They agree that boy mom should stop posting on social media about them. Again, it's not about them. It's about what's happening to me. So if you don't agree to stop calling frivolously on us, the police on us frivolously, then I guess the social media story is going to continue. Additional items that they would like. Here's where it gets not real life.
Oh, here we go.
Boy mom is to no longer operate any motor vehicle in such manner as to come close to any of the neighbors. Neither is boy mom to extend her middle finger in the direction of any of the neighbors. This is commonly referred to as giving the finger or shooting the bird. Neither is boy mom to honk or blow any motor or any vehicular horns at any of the neighbors. There would be no further contact in any way of the neighbors and boy mom. I mean, she must be big mad, red hot mad at me in particular, because my name, boy mom, was the one listed specifically on there. So she dislikes me so much. They just don't like me at all, that they had to name just my name on there in the response. Get a life.
So what, are we like whipping out that lawsuit again? Because...
Hey TikTokers, I wanted to answer a few questions I saw in the comments regarding the restraining order our neighbors filed against us. The biggest question, or the most asked question, was, did the judge comment on the waterway? And yes, he did. He said that she does not own the water, we do not own the water, no one owns the water, and the water is for everyone to enjoy. Another question that was asked was, what was her reaction? I really wasn't paying attention to her. I was just happy to have this part of the process over with, and so I really wasn't paying attention to what she was doing, so I'm not sure. I also wanted to mention that my attorney requested for an involuntary dismissal of the restraining order due to lack of evidence, and the judge did grant that. So my attorney didn't get the opportunity to ask any questions to us or them, just because I guess when it was his turn, I should say, he said he wanted to request for there to be an involuntary dismissal. And again, the judge granted that. A lot of you have asked how my boys are handling this. Of course, it's upsetting. They don't like when the police are called on them. It makes them feel like they're doing something wrong. I constantly reassure them that they're not, that to continue to do what they're doing, and remember that always be respectful. And if the police officers ask them, be honest as to what they were or were not doing. And we cannot control other people's actions. So if she's gonna call, she's gonna call, and we will handle it if they come out. I think it's important to show your children on how to react to certain things, because they're looking at you for that reaction.
We have another update. There's a good chance I have pickle pieces in my teeth right now. Mind your business.
Hey TikTokers, if you've been following along, you'll know that my neighbors have been harassing us for the past 3 years. A lot of you have asked for a video. I don't have a video to provide, but I do have something I want you to listen to. I can't provide the video because I'm going to protect her identity, of course, but check it out. Now remember, she called the police on me because of my TikTok.
Because our neighbors has dedicated a whole TikTok page trashing us. So we're taking this evidence to court. Got the whole, that's so they found out who she was.
And defamation of her.
They found out who she was based on what she was posting. And I'm like, okay, that's scary. So we're bringing this to the office, the lawyer tomorrow. But it's all on me. She hates me to death because I've just told her to stay off our property. Oh my God, she has lied on there. So that's why we're going to the lawyer, because she has multiple lies.
She hates me because I told her to stay off our property. Let's not pretend that's the full story.
She said we were in violation of the fence we put up right there. She called the parish. She called the Fish and Wildlife. She called the Department Environmental Quality. And they were like, they're not in violation of anything. But she posted that we were. And she got over a million views. And they're saying how awful people we are. But she's putting a target on her head. So that's why we're seeing the lawyer tomorrow. But please come in.
But the real reason she called this time was because of new trespassing, or a trespassing charge that she's trying to put on my son.
I feel like I've done something wrong by reacting to these videos on my YouTube. I'm gonna have a lawsuit on my hands.
Please come in. So, with that said, she has the audacity to let her son today go in the water.
She does not own.
Come on, and you're welcome. And oh, that's fine. It's gonna show it. That's okay. And you'll see him come in there, and just let him watch him see him.
So here's toward the end.
So that's him on the boat?
That's him on the boat, and that's our property.
That's the fence right there. And there she sees him. She's talking to him.
I told him to get off. I said, get off our property. And he said, no. You want to get it? I said, you go on the other side and get that. And he said, no. And I said, get off. And then I had the lawnmower off, and I walked inside. And I said, that's it, I'm done. I said, because I'm filing. Nancy, I'm going inside. I'm filing, but it's criminal. This is criminal, because this is trespassing. They know. They've been notified. It is, if you look through the records, I've had multiple calls about this. And we put up security cameras. Our lawyer said, put up cameras.
And here's the police officer trying to talk some sense into her.
He knows that. They both know.
You're also looking at putting on a record, or you would attempt to be put on record a juvenile to have criminal charges pressed against them. Being on a, no, I'm saying that's what you're telling me you want to
What I want
criminal charges on a juvenile's record for going on a boat and picking up a piece of plastic.
See, and the way you're wording it is making me look like I'm a bad person.
Well, look.
He just worded it the way it's really happening.
Ma'am, I promise you, he's not making you look like a bad person. It's you. What I will never understand is even a kid getting in his boat and going to pick up a piece of plastic on your water. How does that affect you in any kind of negative way? I'm not understanding how that could cause so much turmoil in your heart and soul. I don't get it.
My neighbors try to steal our cat.
What?
I kid you not. My 9-year-old has always wanted a cat, but my husband's allergic to them, so we couldn't have an indoor cat. Well, a friend of mine who also lives on the river has a cat that lived outdoors its entire life. It kind of showed up. It was a stray. Called me and said, hey, do you know anyone who would want this cat? I have several strays that have come up on my property. This particular one is awesome, super friendly, and just wanted to know if anybody wanted him. I was like, yes, we would love that cat. It would be perfect. He already lives outdoors. He's lived outdoors his entire life on the river. Perfect. Yes, we'll take him.
Oh God, now you're gonna have to worry about your cat going on her property. Oh, here we go.
We bring him home. Everything's going great. And then all of a sudden I notice he's not at our back door as he usually is when we come out to be fed. And he isn't there to greet us when we come home. Then one day I see him coming from our neighbor's home. And I was like, well, maybe he was just wandering around, whatnot. So I started to pay attention to where he was going and noticed that she was bringing him in the house. I'm like, wait a minute. She's bringing our cat inside of our house? So later I found out not only was she feeding the cat, but she was bringing him inside. So at one point she had him inside for a long time and I didn't know what to do. Like, do I go knock on her door? She already calls the police on us all the time. I can't dare go on her property. So I didn't know what to do.
If you have my cat inside your house, I'm going on your property to knock on the door.
The next time my husband saw them outside, he asked them about it and they said I denied it, so they never brought him inside, even though I had seen him go inside their house. And she denied feeding them. Now at this point, my son was getting kind of upset because his cat wasn't around. We didn't know what to do. So this was the only time we've ever called the police on them. And then we call the police come out, and we just wanted to make a report. I kid you not, the minute the police left, we get this text message. I'm sure she knew that we had called the police because of the cat situation. This is what she said. She tried to say he was malnutritioned and that he needed attention and that he was not an outdoors cat and he needed to be inside, and clearly he was an indoor cat, not knowing the history behind the cat.
Wait, I need to read that, okay? Hold on. Your cat has decided our home is his, regardless of what we do. He won't leave no matter if we don't feed him or not. Clearly he's an indoor cat. I don't know what else to do. We have brought him over to the property's edge and given him to the kids, but he comes back. He meows for attention a lot. I can only suggest keeping him inside your house until he adjusts, or we'll have to bring him to the Humane Society or find him another home.
Here's our cat. And at one point we weighed him. He weighed around 14 pounds, I think, at the time. So he's clearly not malnutritioned. Of course, she threatens to bring him to Humane Society. Here you can see we said, please don't bring our son's cat to Humane Society. We're feeding him.
Unreal.
We're taking good care of him. Please, just you stop feeding him and bringing him in your home. This lady will do whatever she can to try to mess with us.
Not even cats are safe, okay? That's how bad this story is.
We received a response this week and wasn't surprised to see they denied most of what we're claiming. With the exception of two things. They did admit to coming over here to talk to us about our boys swimming in what they believe to be their water, as well as they call in the police department on us regarding that matter. They also go on to say that the reason they had to put their water fence up is because of us, our boys cutting tree limbs off of jointly owned trees in the water, and our boat must have been going into what they believe to their water, so they wanted to have a better way to dictate where those property lines were within the water. Side note, those trees are not jointly owned, but also they go on to say that we were quiet for about 7 months, and on or around May 13th, 2023, we began misbehaving again and playing loud music and trespassing and causing excessive wakes. In addition to their response, they also sent a separate letter regarding the waterway behind our home. They're still claiming that the water is theirs and that it was conveyed to them when they purchased their home, that they have full ownership. And they say that the slough is not connected to the river or any of its tributaries or branches by any body of water that would even allow a shallow draft, small motorized flatboat, or to traverse or navigate through. Instead, the only wet link between the slough and any stream, creek, river, or similar body of water is a vegetation-dense swamp. The slough is not affected by, nor does it have a flow of water through it. The slough is stagnant and lacks any semblance of a current or flow. It is completely cut off from any navigable water, except if one puts on waders or rubber boots and walks through the aforementioned shallow, dense swamp. The letter also goes on to say that they want us to have a copy of it so that we knew that we, our guest invitees, and all similar situated persons.
I mean, every officer that has been out there has said to her, you cannot own the water. But she still claims in legal documents that she owns the water.
I just don't understand how they can still believe that the water is theirs, even after the judge mentioned that they don't own the water and we don't own the water. It is most certainly connected to a main navigable waterway. It is most certainly a tributary of the main river. We are able to get out with a regular large flat boat most of the year. Right now, currently, it is at a dead low. No, we cannot currently get out. But when that river gauge comes back up, we will be able to get back out. I really think that they're just not from here and maybe don't understand how the waterways work on the river around this area. But it's been explained to them many times and they just can't seem to understand.
I mean, they have an attorney. How is their attorney not being like, so hey guys, yeah, I did the research and it's true. Like the police officer and the judge said, yeah, you don't own the water. How are we even still talking about it?
Hey guys, a lot of you have asked for an update on the water fence. If you haven't been following along, go back and watch my videos where I talk about how my neighbors put this fence in the water.
Ooh, I've been waiting for this one. Been waiting for the update on this stupid fence.
We've talked to HOA, who said that there isn't anything in the covenants that specifies anything to do with fencing in the water. I guess we are a neighborhood of 300 homes. There's only a few homes that have houses on the water or that have waterfront properties. So I guess they didn't feel the need at the time to put anything on the covenants that specifies anything. So they've basically said there's no way, that there's nothing I can do. I also spoke to wildlife and fishery agents who said that because this is a tributary of the river, that they do not patrol this area and it would not be anything that a violation for them. So, but they also said that she does not own the water and that our boys as well as ourselves have access to fish and boat in the water all we want. We just cannot anchor or get off on her land or...
Great, so just add another tally to the list of people who have confirmed that she does not own the water.
And we have some things in the works. Unfortunately, I cannot disclose it at this time, just because, as we all know, the neighbors watch my TikToks and we don't need any problems before we can get things rocking and rolling. If all else fails, then we would have to sue for civilly and take her to court for the fence itself, which we would prepare to do that as well. So it just depends on kind of where we are and what we find out from the other avenues we're trying to take.
I just love that your neighbor is sitting there watching all of these videos that we're watching right now. Like they're seeing your reaction to everything and your next step and everything. Do you guys see it? Do you see it? I see it.
They filed a lawsuit against us and then we filed against them. This behind me is the water fence that they put up. That is the very dangerous water fence, the one that has the 2 cables running across it that they put up solely to block us from being able to utilize the river. Yeah, that one. Do you notice anything different? Yeah, you do. Or how about this guy? Or this guy? Wait.
Oh no.
There's more. Or these guys.
Oh,
and remember,
everywhere.
we were trying to negotiate outside of court per their request. So I guess this is their form of negotiating, pointing no trespassing signs directly at our home and making the water fence an even more of an eyesore for our residential neighborhood. Or is this just a new way of harassment? They're not getting what they want. The police aren't arresting my 13-year-old. The judge isn't allowing them to put a restraining order against us for just living our life. So they're just sitting back, what can we do next? But once again, they're not hurting me. They are devaluing the property. They are in a residential area where other people have to look at this, although it is 1 inch off of our property line. These were actually installed on September 1st. I'm just getting around to updating things.
I mean, it's an eyesore for them too. You all have this beautiful property on the waterfront. Like, do you really want a fence and then no trespassing signs outlining your entire space? She does, clearly.
Hey TikTokers, I wanted to give you an update on the water fence.
Another one.
If you've been following my page, you'll know that my neighbors have been harassing my family for the past 3 years. They filed a lawsuit against us and then we finally countersued against them. Several months ago, they erected this, what we call the water fence behind me here. It's basically just metal or aluminum poles with 2 dangerous cables running across. It's very much of an eyesore in the neighborhood, and they did it solely to block us from utilizing the river, as well as stopping my boys from fishing. When they first erected it, I contacted the HOA, who said because there was nothing in the covenants stating anything about a water fence in the covenants, that there was nothing they could do. I was told to reach out to our parish, which is also better known as a county to you guys, and I did. I first reached out to code enforcement, who said because it's in the water, I would need to contact the water department. Contacted the water department, who told me that it wasn't a violation to them because it did not restrict the flow of the water. They told me to reach out to the wildlife and fishery, which I did. Wildlife and fishery said they do not patrol this area, so it wouldn't interfere with them patrolling the area, and there was no violation to them. I then contacted code enforcement again, and also the parish councilman. Parish councilman had 5 parish officials come out to look at the fence. Every person who stepped foot on my property and looked at the fence has said, oh, no way this fence is going to fly. This is a violation.
Okay.
However, whenever I try to reach out to them, either they do not follow up with me or I cannot get a hold of them, or they tell me that it wasn't a violation to their department and to reach out to another department. So basically, I've gotten the runaround a good bit. Now that the water is at a dead low, the fence is indeed higher than 6 feet, and that's against code enforcement. So I called code enforcement, who came out and said, yes, it is higher than 6 feet. It is 7 feet plus, and that is a violation. I also brought up the cables and how they're very, very dangerous, and they're in a residential neighborhood, and they agreed that wire isn't allowed in a residential area. So after trying once again to follow up with them, I was told now that this is not considered a fence.
What?
And that they have deemed it no violation.
And here I was getting all excited that we were onto something here.
So with that said, this is the update. The update is the parish has said that it's not a fence, that this dangerous cable can be allowed in a residential area, and that there is nothing they are going to do about it. It's unfortunate and a shame that we're not getting the help we need on such a dangerous fence. It's as if they want something dangerous to happen and then they will handle it. Again, very unfortunate and upsetting.
I am just waiting for there to be an update where it's like, the fence is being torn down, you guys. Waiting for it.
Hey TikTokers, I know a lot of you were asking about an update from the CD that I picked up from the parish. Just a little clarification on what a parish is. It's basically the same thing as a county. A lot of you asked about that. So if you were going to report someone to code enforcement and or say start a new project and you needed to go to planning and development, we go to our parish, you guys would go to a county. But like I said in my previous video, if you didn't know, any and all email and correspondence with your county and or parish is public knowledge. And you as a citizen can request those things, your address, anything regarding your address or anyone else's address for that matter. Anyhow, so I had requested this months ago. I requested any and all email correspondence before we even went to court with our neighbors, just out of wanting to collect things that I needed. And I knew it was going to take some time. I requested 3 years. So it was a lot of information that the years that I lived in the house. I'm still actually kind of going through some of the emails and correspondence, but I will say this, that a lot of it's just normal permits that were submitted, things like that. But some of it was corrupt and I couldn't open, so I'll have to address that. And then I personally sent a few emails, 2 to 3 emails, all regarding the fence. And my 2 to 3 emails were sent between 10 different departments. So
wow.
Every department that I requested information from, they sent me my emails. And so basically I picked up a document or a CD full of my emails. And a bunch of other BS stuff. So really, out of all those documents, there really wasn't a whole lot.
That's such a bummer. I was really hoping for some positive news. What I do want to hear about is the previous owners, and if they had to deal with the same stuff with this lady that you're dealing with. That's what I want to know. Like, did they just never use the water?
And we didn't countersue until after the neighbors had filed a restraining order against us. The restraining order had an involuntary dismissal due to lack of evidence, and then we countersued and requested discovery. That's when the neighbor's attorney came to our attorney and asked if we would be willing to settle outside of court. Now, I did a video on this previously, but basically they came to us with some ridiculous request. We said, nope, we're not willing to do those things, and we will just go to court. We went back and forth a little bit more, basically the same thing, and more ridiculous requests and more ridiculous responses. So finally we said, look, if you're willing to drop your lawsuit, we'll be willing to drop our lawsuit. No conditions.
No conditions.
We really didn't think they were going to agree to that because they had been so ridiculous with their request at this point. There was no way they were going to agree to just dropping it with no conditions, but to our surprise, they did. So as of September 13th, the case has been dismissed without prejudice. I hope I'm saying that right.
We celebrate.
That basically means that any and all evidence that we had, the many of police calls and the harassment, can still be used if we choose to reopen the case. If we would have filed with prejudice, then we wouldn't have been able to use all those police calls. It would be as if it never happened. Now, while this does seem like it's in our favor, it is not the most ideal, and here's why. Because in my opinion, I feel like the neighbors have agreed to this so that they can come back later and collect more evidence
100%.
that we're not doing. And so it feels like the lawsuit's almost hanging over our head or on pause, in my opinion. Now, of course, it works both ways. If they continue their harassment or continue the police calls, then we can reopen the case ourselves as well. But again, that's money and time. Either way, for now, this is what's best for our family, is to take a step back and hope that it gets better. And if it doesn't, then we just reopen the case.
I have a feeling that that's exactly what's going to happen. There's going to be more police calls, more evidence, and I don't think this lawsuit is over by any means.
And as of yesterday, Saturday, October 14th, 2023, the neighbors were issued a certified letter stating they had to have removed the fence by December 1st of 2023. Shortly after they received the letter, they contacted the HOA to let them know they will not be removing the fence, and that if we want the fence removed, then we will have to take them to court.
God, I was so excited to finally hear those words. They were ordered to take down the fence, and it is still not happening.
So once again, after being told by multiple agencies that we are not trespassing, this is not their water, they told the HOA board or the president to let us know that we are not to be in that water and to take them to court if we want them to remove the fence.
I guess we're going back to court.
I'm not really sure if I've told this story or not, but when my neighbors filed a restraining order against my family, we had to go to court and they had to prove why a restraining order was necessary. And one of the reasons they said that they felt they needed a restraining order against us was because I had flipped off her husband or shot him the bird. And she said the story went like this. She said that I was coming down the street in my car. He had just went out to pull the trash cans up, and he waved at me and I shot him the bird. And he must have went back inside and told her. And she said, well, how did you know for sure that she flipped you the bird? Now she's telling this story in court. And he said, I'm sure of it because I saw her fingernail polish. Her fingernail polish was pink. And she said, are you sure? And he said, I'm sure of it. I saw her fingernail polish.
Stop.
And so that is one of the reasons why they felt that my family should have a restraining order against us. And as you know, they recently agreed to drop the lawsuits, and it's just something that my husband and I have been discussing and thinking, how do you go from 100% full force to screeching halt? It's like as if when we sent out the discovery questions, they had something to hide and didn't want to answer those questions. Just our opinion. And so I wanted to clear the air that I do have pink fingernail polish.
So this video is actually not meant for us. It's meant for her neighbor. I think that you should just put that little gnome in your garden out front. However, it'll probably be used as evidence. Imagine how many people would have a restraining order against them for flipping somebody off. Restraining order.
There is an official response from my HOA board president to my neighbors regarding their letter.
Oh my God, please.
Here's that
please,
letter
please.
if you didn't get a chance to read it.
I'm not reading
And
it.
here is why I wear these. Remember how I said that people tend to back down when they start CCing their lawyer and threatening other people that if they don't back down, they're going to sue them too? Here's a prime example. Promotes peace, calmness, stress release, helps you relax. All natural. There's more. There's more. She wants the noxious behavior by us to stop immediately. And that if we don't stop our noxious behavior of cutting limbs, then she's not going to stop complaining. Now, we already knew that she wasn't going to take down the fence because she made that very blatantly obvious. So really the fact that the HOA retracting their statement about the fence doesn't really change things. Because we already knew she said she wasn't taking down the fence. And to clear up my complaint on the shed that she built, there is an HOA covenant that reads it can only be so many feet near a property line. And the HOA gave the neighbors a variance to be able to build it closer to our property line. And I made a point to say, hey, HOA, don't you think that it was kind of important to maybe reach out to the property that it's going to be that close to, especially knowing the history between that neighbor and us? Or maybe have the HOA board vote on it. At this point, the shed was already there. So that's a whole different story in itself, and there was nothing really...
There are way too many stories in itself within this entire story.
The point that this should have been addressed differently. And as you can see in this letter, the HOA president himself offered to pick up the limbs because he got exasperated. This all happened within a few hours while we were still cutting the limbs. I had no idea any of this was going on. And she CC'd all of the board members in these recent emails because she felt that the whole board needed to know what type of noxious behavior was going on by us.
Okay, I'm going to read that small letter. We are in receipt of your letters. Since the fence issue is a who owns the property issue, you are right. The HOA shouldn't be involved. Blank, you're convinced your lawyer's option is correct. I suspect that blank's lawyer disagrees. This issue is probably still not settled, but it is outside of the purview of the HOA. Of course. Well, I don't know about you, but I am very much hoping for a positive fence update. That this fence will in fact be taken down by the end of all of these updates. Update number 3.
I spy with my little eye a flower bed going underwater. Who would have thought? And now that I see the petition for the no wake zone, it makes my thought process think a little differently on the flower bed. Next, she'll be trying to say that our wake caused damage to her garden that she put right next to the boat launch.
Oh my gosh.
So that even a ripple going in that direction would go through that flower bed. I'm starting to think that she thinks that we're dumb, that we can't see the tactics she's trying to pull. Because let's just say that none of these things that I'm predicting that she's trying to do with this flower bed is true. Who puts a flower bed in the way of where water is going to sit for multiple days at a time with mulch and a border? Like, it makes no sense whatsoever unless there was some type of ill intent. That's the only thing I can think. Just like the poles with the wire running across the river.
Raise your hand if you think that that was intentional or not. I don't want to point fingers and say that no, they just wanted to have a little flower garden there. But I think there is a plan to the madness. Only because that's what we've seen so far. Only because that's what we've seen so far.
You know the cool thing about having friends is that whenever they see something they think that you need to see, they call you and like, hey, you need to check this out right now. And I think you guys need to check this out.
We are the requesters for the no wake zone. Our entire back property.
Wait a second, is this Bridget's husband that I'm looking at right now?
Butts up to the slough, and I think we probably have the most linear property that's up to the slough. When the water is up really high, like it is right now, it just increases the damage the wakes cause, because typically the slough is still water and you don't have any motion of the water to cause damage to the property. So that we've had, and typically it only happens when the water is up. You get people in there, they go back and forth fast, and it damages our property. And so that was why we wanted to have a no wake zone, just so people can be held accountable for their, I guess, for lack of a better term, idiocy. Thank you. Thank you.
And here I was thinking like, oh, you know, he seems a little more level-headed, and then he threw in idiocy, and that's screaming Bridget.
So this was at a public councilman meeting last night that our neighbors went to and petitioned for a no-wake zone to be put in. And it was passed. And that's okay. I'm not upset that it was passed.
It was passed?
Because again, we're not breaking the law.
No. I mean, I understand when the tide's very high. I understand that. I'm not trying to say I'm on her side, but we gotta be realistic here if that was our property. The water's really high, people are going, causing bigger waves, and that's gonna come up on there. I understand when the tide's high, so maybe there's more to it. Let me keep watching. Why am I jumping the gun?
We're not doing anything to cause wakes, so we're not concerned with that. But at the end where he said idiocy, the only idiocy that I see is putting poles with cables running across a waterway that when the river is high, you can hardly see. And just like he said at the parish councilman meeting, the only time you really see boaters in there is when the river is high. So, in my opinion, are we looking to hurt? Is there intent to hurt someone by putting these poles and this wire across? And let's face it, this is just another tool for them to harass us. The moment a boat goes in the water, they're gonna call the sheriff saying that we're causing a wake, whether we are or not. This is just another tool. I think what we should be bringing to the agenda is the safety of our boaters and the safety of the people using the waterway when the river is high. Wake up, St. Tammany Parish.
I mean, that's pretty insane. I've actually never seen a picture of the tide that high with that fence. You can hardly see the fence. That could be so dangerous. All right, so this is river at a low. Okay, that, you can very much see the fence there. River starting to rise. River at 9 feet. River at 11 feet. Oh yeah, it's starting to go. There's the flower bed. That fence, man. The poles with wire across become hard to see. Look at that! I had to look for it. River is expected to come up another 1.5 feet. I really appreciate all the details that this woman has given us because I get a full vision of the property, everything we're talking about. Really keeps us in the loop here. All I was thinking about when you were filming those videos, like looking at their house, I'm like, she's probably in there watching you with your phone. She's just watching you create this TikTok content.
I have so much to
Tell
tell y'all. First, the river is expected to crest at 12.5 feet high. And currently, right now, it is at 9 feet. Let me show you. This is what it looks like at 9 feet today. So currently today is at 9 feet and it's scheduled to come up to 12.5 feet. So it should crest between the 14th and the 16th of this month. So we do have a couple more days to see that come up. And the river gauge hasn't been working properly, so it could even come up more. Now the bigger news. I'm gonna start with the news that I planned to tell y'all yesterday, just because I already had that news. I do have some new news that is probably a little bit premature for me to tell you, but I'm too excited and I'm still gonna tell you. So the neighbor drama stuff has been exhausting, to say the least, as you guys can expect, right? I started this TikTok to almost...
I feel like we're also exhausted and I'm just taking in this content. I'm not even involved.
Vent and ask opinions and things like that. And then it kind of blew up into other things, as we know. And I love all of the support, all of the help, everybody's suggestions. The support has been astronomical and I'm so thankful. And this entire time I've been thinking,
okay, we love you, but please tell us the big news.
And last but not least, here's the other news. The news station reached out.
What? What news station?
They want to do a call tomorrow at 11. So like I said, a little premature. I probably shouldn't have told you, but I was too excited. So definitely stay tuned because it's about to get real wild.
Your neighbor didn't like you telling this story on TikTok, and you're about to go on live TV on the news and tell it. Oh my God, Bridget's gonna lose her fucking mind. She's gonna lose it. I'm so scared for you for what is to come. This is gonna be, it's gonna be a bloodbath.
I get a lot of questions as to why we wouldn't just launch our boat at the end of the fence or on the other side of our property. And it's because it's too steep over there. And a lot of people are like, well, why didn't you just dig over there? And there's a couple of reasons why. One, because like I said, it was too steep. Two, there's multiple trees. See this tree here? We would have to remove that tree, and he's great, growing just fine. We'd also have to remove our fruit trees, and we'd have to come across here with the trucks and whatnot, which would kind of be hard to maneuver through. And because where we dug and pulled back the bank, it was already meant for a kind of sort of a boat launch prior to us moving in. So all we did was dig that area deeper, move our bank back to avoid that fence. Also, I'm not sure if I shared this story or not, but when the parish councilman was here that day, checking to make sure that we had the proper permitting to dig, he looked at us and said, why would you choose to dig there, knowing this was going to upset her? Why wouldn't you just dig on the other side of your property? You're just trying to cause more problems. Excuse me? Do I come to your house and tell you where to park your car? No. I really don't care what her thoughts and feelings are. This is my property. This is where I chose to dig. And this was not intended to those people who asked those questions. I'm just saying I couldn't believe the parish councilman said that. And this is why I truly believe she acts the way she does. It's because they pacify her to think that her behavior is okay. Anyhow, we're approaching a new year. Hopefully 2024 will be a little relief for us.
Oh my God, you guys. There's a whole other year of drama for this series. I thought we were reaching 2025. Not yet. What are you guys doing? Are you guys going to remove all those trees and dig on the other side just to please your neighbor that has absolutely made your life miserable? Or are you going to just extend back and put your boat where it was? What are you doing? Honestly, I'm genuinely asking.
Over the weekend or sometime recently, our neighbors put a new flower bed in. And I'm talking about the one right there.
Oh, that's what it looks like.
Now, normally I would not do a video on something they did that didn't have anything to do with me. But the only reason I'm doing a video is more of like a log. Because if you remember in the body cam footage, she said that she believed that since we dug this, we changed the flow of the water, yada, yada, yada. And now where's that water gonna go? But here's what I find interesting and why I'm even mentioning this new flower bed. If you notice, the two bamboos right there are smaller than the other bamboos. And they were all planted at the same time. And the reason they're smaller than the others is because the water typically comes all the way up to those, and those sit in water for a few days at a time. And so therefore, they seem to have not grown as well as the others. So the reason I bring all this up is because why would she come in and put a flower bed right there knowing the water comes all the way up past those two pieces of bamboo? Is it to try to say that I changed the flow of water? Well, I'm just here to say that I'm making this log and this video today so that we can't have this discussion later down the road. Now, I could be completely wrong and that might not have been her intentions, but at least I have it noted now so that if in the future that was her intentions, I can say, nope, look here, you planted this after the fact.
I'm really intrigued to see how that plays out. To see if that becomes a complaint later in this series, my mind is gonna be blown. This whole series is insane. I'm stressed for you.
Here's an update on our boat launch. So as you know, we dug out to make us our boat launch and make it a bit up. We basically pulled the bank back to allow for a bigger channel for us to be able to get in and out because of that fence. After we removed the dirt and spread it out throughout our property, we let it dry. So we spread it real thin and let it dry, and then we came back and are continually raking it. As you can see, it still has some raking that needs to be done so we can come back and add grass. Here's the bank that we pulled back. As you can see, it's made a wider channel there. Currently, this is what it looks like right now. The river has come up, so we're able to see it higher with water in it. As you can see right there, that's where we'll launch and go through all the way through there to get out.
Go around the fence.
Now we're gonna do a little bit more spreading, and then we'll come back and add grass seeds, probably ryegrass, so it'll grow throughout the winter and help with that mud and dirt. We have not currently used our boat launch just because, as you can see right there, where we would have to launch, it's pretty muddy and nasty still, so we don't want the trucks or anything to get stuck. But we do intend to have it done, hopefully sooner than later, but it just is a process, and we are working slowly but surely.
I really liked your beach idea. I still think it's not too late to put some sand there instead of grass and make yourselves a little private beach area and then invite all of us over.
I would have said, if we don't be a nuisance, can we, when we went on, can we, and I would have said.
So this is a continuation of the body cam audio recording.
Yeah, you know what, I don't mind. What I don't want is, this is our peaceful little habitat, little haven.
Right.
We don't want your kids running around, okay? You probably not to go talk to them, and I'll tell you why. Because you not going over there is going to keep her in the dark, and that's going to bug her. And if that's the only satisfaction I get, is she doesn't know what I said.
Like right now, we can do that, and I would look. I'll do whatever you want, but I think talking to you.
Well, there's no sign out there saying they have a permit, and you have to put a permit in a sign. There's no sign saying they have a permit. Nobody came to us to tell us that, hey, they're going to be digging a canal by your property, but don't worry, they're not going to be that close to your property line.
Right.
That didn't happen. I didn't get a letter. I didn't get a phone call. I didn't get anything. They never told us. Then harasses us because she calls the sheriff off all the time. I'm like,
didn't she just say, don't go over and talk to her because I want her to be kept in the dark? And now you're saying nobody came to me and told me anything? Is that not very hypocritical? You want her to be in the dark, but you don't want to be left in the dark? I wonder why they didn't go and tell you.
I called the sheriff's office because you keep doing stuff.
Awake.
They have this little pouch, like a one-stroke engine. I don't know. I'm not a boat person. We don't have evidence on them. I've got lots of evidence. I've never had the opportunity to show it.
Right.
You know, and so we took them to court, and that really kind of stopped things because they realized we're serious.
We're still living
You
our
know,
life.
and it was strapping them money-wise to do this. So they were like, well, they were like twice came back. Let's just drop both of them. And we thought about it because I'm like, I don't know if it's going to stop, but it's expensive.
Oh, I understand.
So I was like, okay, well, let's just see what happens. And I she can do whatever she wants, but what she's going to do, because I hate to say it for lack of a better word, she's an attention whore. And that's what the whole TikTok. I can tell you right now, just you being here, she's going to pull your footage. She's going to pull the whole thing.
Well, she can't.
Okay.
An attention whore. Oh my God. Girl, I hope. Whoa. I was going to say something, and I'm not going to say it. Let's just keep watching. It's not nice.
No, I'm just letting.
Okay, because
It's not going to stop her if she happens to see my unit videotaping my unit. But I can promise you this: she cannot get her hands on any footage. It's just not allowed.
Okay. I won't. For my emotional sanity, I won't watch
Understand.
it. I had to see
I
a
agree
couple.
with you.
I had to see a couple. I had to see a couple, and she actually said, "This is her word." And she was sitting there kind of sleazy with her breath falling out, and just she's just playing with her coke like this, and she goes, she has the audacity to take pictures of my kids. And so what she's doing, slandering me like I'm this horrible person. I'm like, because I videotaped your kids going back and forth playing.
Like, this is a bigger issue than a waterway and the wake and my property. You're calling her an attention whore. You're talking about her breasts being out, calling her sleazy. She's better than I am. I would have lost it.
Because I videotaped your kids driving a golf cart illegally. I have evidence. One person, I don't know, it was one of the recent ones, and it said, they think I'm with these bad people because what she said about us. She won't tell you the truth on anything.
So what we can do is,
I know people have bad neighbors. I know that. I've never had neighbors that were so blatant to endanger my life. Damn well know that water's now going to come up higher. They want destruction of our property because we take care of our property. We try to do it. I love doing it.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
And they're jealous of it. I know that. She's made comments. So, I mean, they want to. Thank you. And thank you.
All right. If you need anything, give us a call, okay?
Thank you so much, Emma.
Why is this like a woman-to-woman issue? They're jealous of it? What is even going on? We're adults here. I thought we were just talking about the wake and the water line. Now we're getting real personal. Oh my God.
Hopefully we will. I can use you guys. I would love to be able to. I just feel like they're the type of people that, I mean, Larry said it right. I can do what I want. And he said it right.
Yeah. So that the best thing that you do is
This woman, Boy Mom, has actually never said anything bad, personal. Like, she tells the story and what's happening, but she's never name called. She's always just explained what's going on, the lawsuit, the legal things, the water. Like, man, why does this feel so much more personal than it needs to be?
They had the excavator.
We got more audio recording from the body cam.
They collapsed the dirt that they had dug and pushed up. They collapsed it. They took it. They scooped it. And when they were scooping it, the excavator thing was coming under our fence. He literally was going on our side too. But he went down all right at the fence, and he took all the dirt that's right on the fence line. Well, those are no trespassing signs here. I don't know how clear it can be. And I'm thinking to myself, the Army Corps of Engineer gave you a...
Now she's saying the excavator stole her dirt on the fence line. Oh my God, it'll never stop. It'll never stop.
Or private waterways. I'm thinking, I'm finding this now hard to believe.
okay.
And I told the inspection guy when he was here, because I'm sorry if I'm going too fast.
No, you're not.
I'm just so stressed.
No.
I said to him, well, if the Army Corps did technically give him a permit, I said, would they give them the right to dig right up to our fence, which is inside our property line? He's like, no, they wouldn't even give them the right to go right up to the property line. I'm like, oh, okay, well. I said, they trespassed, then destroyed it. They took the dirt and they put the
Tearing up.
I don't know what else to do.
Went off a 20 code for.
I mean, you can go civil to court, and that's expensive. We've tried that with them, and it's very, very expensive because they had
1 out of 30 traffic stop.
They've done this.
Oh, she's crying over this. This is a little much. Like, this is not worth crying over. We're getting angry about. Like, all of this is insane.
Bad things. Anyway, so
We've done bad things.
now that this has happened, I'm like, well, now this is criminal because I know I want to walk over and take the shovel and scoop over there. I'm trespassing and I'm destroying property. Well, I got him on video destroying my property.
Okay, so show me this video again that you are
I
telling me
have
that
lots
you.
of videos of them digging here, but this is the one where
So here's my thing. Let me look at that and then we'll have a conversation. So let me look at
I'm
that.
sorry if I'm just being very. I'm trying to land that our posts are sitting in, so I don't know if we get a strong wind or if we get like high water. Are we going to lose our fence? Is it going to fall over? I don't know what he did
I'm
because
listening.
I can't see it now because now the water's on it. Because it's like he said, the Army Corps of Engineer trumps the parish. Okay, that's what he basically said. He didn't use the exact word. Does not have the right to say you can dig right up to their fence. I don't think the Army Corps of Engineer would say you can dig right up to someone. You can dig on the property line. I'm sorry. I don't think that.
So here's my thing. So here's the thing.
Okay.
So when something is criminal, we have to prove intent.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if that's been explained to you.
This series gives me a headache. I think this woman is just grasping at anything at this point. At anything, any form of evidence, any claim, any criminal charge. They should pay for your therapy after this.
In that video, he's right up there.
Yeah.
But he hasn't trespassed against that fence. So there's no trespassing against the
It's
fence.
trespass on the property line. Yeah.
What I'm saying is there's a potential that he is, but intent means he is out there and he's intentionally attempting to destroy your property. Because I can go talk to them and ask them what's going on.
No, they're gonna. I can tell you. You go talk to them. They're gonna say we did not do. They won't admit to what they did unless they saw that video.
I don't need to see the video. I was out there.
We're dealing with people that have harassed us from the moment they moved in.
We harassed her.
Went to court. And so we had my husband had asked them to please not use that water.
Okay.
And that made us enemy number one, because in her eyes, she's like, we can use that water, and I'm like, it's.
You said what you went to court for, but you didn't explain that.
Because slander, I guess I don't know, call it libel, endangerment of my life. They're, God, I can't, without looking at all the things, okay? So this is not.
So it was like.
Because our lawyer said, no, it's just a hearing. We don't bring all the guns. You don't bring
Why
all the
wouldn't you bring your
It's just a
evidence?
hearing. You just bring what you need to prove for the injunction. But he sought an injunction to keep them away from us.
Okay, I was going to ask, like a restraining order type thing. Is that what you're saying? Okay,
Yes.
that they couldn't come so far.
Yeah, they could.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Even this cop isn't following all of your claims. She's like, okay, but what about this whole thing makes this criminal? We're missing the point here.
I didn't have my daughters with us because I'm like, well, I don't need them there for witnesses because that's not what it was. Was in time.
Right.
So we didn't have that, and the judge, because they weren't there, he's like, well, he didn't. Not that he didn't believe us, but he didn't have the. He didn't have like the protocol, I guess. And I'm thinking,
The
how do I
protocol.
not know this? I don't know. Anyway, so he couldn't enforce the injunction, but he basically said, if you continue with this and you pursue this and you come back, he goes, your chances are very good. And I, basically saying, need to press charges against the person who dug.
No, because the
I
person.
don't believe that for a second.
We have to speak to the person.
Okay.
And we don't.
know who that is
Because remember, criminal intent.
Yeah.
Is his intent criminal, or is he making a mistake in judgment?
That's what I'm telling you. They are nuisance neighbors.
So
He has
did
actually
those get
come. What we
placed
did is
on-
because, and then after they filed a lawsuit just so they could say, we'll drop ours if you drop yours.
Yeah, that's how we did it.
And I'm like, thousands of dollars later, I'm thinking, I know what the judge said. He basically said, if you go with this, you'll probably be victorious.
Oh, sorry guys. I hung up. Why are you still ringing?
But
That's
a
what the
lot of
judge
money.
told her.
It is.
It's a lot of money.
The judge
And
would
so
say something
I'm
like that.
And I just, and I'm a Christian, and I'm like, Lord, I really want to do this. I'm so tired of dealing with our neighbors, right? So I'm like,
I would love to bring that audio recording back to court to that judge and be like, so you said that?
really just want, so we agreed, but we agreed to drop it where, I can't remember the wording, it's either with prejudice or without prejudice. One of them means that we can open it back up.
Oh, gotcha.
So we
Okay.
dropped it with the stipulation, we will open this back up if necessary.
Is anyone else taking deep breaths over there to get through this? Because I'm getting so frustrated for these people. And it quite literally has zero effect on my life.
Remember how our neighbor said that we stole her dirt and filed a police report claiming that we took her dirt? And listen to this.
I want to show you some pictures because to explain it really quickly, our neighbors dug a channel in their property to get water. And I guess they said they got it from the Army Corps of Engineers because I had the Parish out here. Their investigators came out and they said that she showed them a picture of the permit. And so they are actually requesting that they have the physical. And ever since they left, they've been hiding inside. So I think something is
Was that
suspect.
today?
Yes, this all happened today. They've been digging. They dug yesterday and the day before.
Okay.
Well, when they were digging, they destroyed our property. They dug up our property. And we had someone come and install a fence.
Where?
And they put that fence inside the property line. At least 8 inches. Could be a little bit more in some spots.
Wrong. There's the stake that they put out by the surveyors put out, and there's the way the fence starts.
They had the bucket, the excavator bucket, come right up to the post and they dug.
Okay.
So they were on our property, they dug. I've got it down, I want to show it to you.
32, 33.
We have about, I don't know, 25, 30 foot of fence. That's a lot of property they took. And as they dug it, they stole our property and they put it on their property.
Oh
So
my
basically,
gosh.
they just willfully destroyed our property, and then they used our property and put it on their property, because as they dug it, they...
What do you, when you say property, what are you speaking about?
Our backyard, our property.
So you're talking dirt?
Yes, dirt. Like all the dirt that they were digging.
Okay. So your complaint is that whoever was excavating or digging stuff up dug up some of your dirt.
Yes.
Do you want your dirt back?
Guys, we can hear it in this officer's voice. She's trying to understand, why am I here? What police report am I making? Where's the crime?
Yes, I want it back, but I think...
But we have to show that.
Okay, let me show you. Come on, it was a little
Yes.
wider.
I can't. I cannot. I can't. I do not have the patience today to deal with this. Do you want it back? Yes. We want our dirt back.
I got a jar of dirt. I got a jar of dirt.
They go in the back so she can show her where we allegedly stole her dirt.
Those trees were mostly on our property.
Okay,
So they took
but they were kind of sharing property, huh?
They're a little bit like that. Yeah, they're kind of sharing just a little bit, but they're joint trees. And so that tree's gone. It's, I don't know where it is. This is gone. So anyway.
She's called the HOA. Oh. She's called past members of the HOA board. She's called almost every department at the parish: code enforcement, engineering, planning, development. She called the parish councilman. She claims we are devaluing her property. She says we stole her trees. She said we stole her dirt. She filed a police report, and it was announced at the HOA meeting that there was a report. Hold on, you're going too fast. And it was announced at the HOA meeting that there was a report of theft in our neighborhood. Theft being stolen dirt. She called the Army Corps of Engineers. We haven't been fined or received a ticket. She's been told we are not violating anything because we had proper permits. She cried tears because we went about this the wrong way. But the truth is, she is running out of ways to harass my family. The truth is, she put a fence with 2 dangerous cables running across in the river to block my family from using the waterway, and it didn't work. The truth is, misery loves company, but we did not accept the invitation. Words to live by. Look at that! I'm just so scared for the nonsense you're gonna have to continue to put up with.
My neighbor's having a meltdown because we found a solution to the fence she put in the water behind our homes to prevent my boys from fishing and using their boats and launching our boats. The blue lines represent where we always have launched our boat and where we will continue to launch our boat. The red line represents the fence she put in the water. And the yellow lines represent where we're gonna now dig to avoid the fence altogether. It's tough to see there, but the blue lines where we represent where we're going into the river, it's more low there than anywhere else on our property, and that's why we chose to always launch there. It was already made as a quote-unquote boat launch before we moved in. Now the problem where the fence comes in is that when the river is low, we're not able to get out because the water doesn't come up all the way to where we can launch and get in through where that yellow part is. But now that we've dug out and dug it deeper, the water's gonna come in year round and be deep enough for us to continually launch our boat year round.
Oh.
This is why she's having a meltdown, because now she's not able to prevent us from getting to the main river.
Yep.
She's called every local official, every department she could possibly think of. She's been crying tears. She has a complete meltdown because we're digging our boat launch to avoid her fence that she put in the river to block my family from using it. The parish officials called a no fishing fence because that's basically what she's put it in there to do, to prevent my boys from fishing.
Can't we just both enjoy our beautiful properties and be friends and call it a day? It's been 3 years of this story. Started in 2020. We're at 2024.
What authorities did my neighbor call because we were digging our property? The HOA president, other residents of the neighborhood, the parish councilman, the sheriff, all departments of the parish, and lastly, the Army Corps of Engineers. At 8 a.m., the parish showed up to make sure that we had the proper permitting and or permission to dig. Does she really think that we were not going to have the proper permission to dig with such a large project after she called everybody under the sun because some twigs fell into what she believes to be her water? Come on. Of course we had permission. The Army Corps of Engineers gave us permission to dig. At around 8:30, another parish official showed up, wanting to make sure that we didn't bring any dirt or fill in because the neighbor had told them that we brought in dump trucks of dirt, which, again, completely untrue. We used our own land, we dug our own dirt, and used that to spread throughout our property. They asked her if she had proof of this or any pictures, but she wasn't able to provide any. However, she was able to say that we were digging her land and her dirt, and that we were trespassing and we hit her fence while digging. When I was leaving for lunch, this guy showed up. I'm not real sure what he or she was here for because They never came over to speak to me, but I'm sure I'll eventually hear about this as well. And last but not least, she's calling the Army Corps of Engineers to ask them why they gave us permission to dig her land. Good luck with that.
This is literally a full-time job. Between all the people showing up at your house to talk about this and to fix the legal issues, it's a full-time job. You gotta be at home 24 hours a day, apparently.
His fishing line's caught in the fence that's in the water.
Do not touch the fence.
Reporting live with another update.
Today, because of the help of you guys, we're able to put on our own boat launch alongside the fence, so the fence is no longer an issue to us. After all, wasn't her idea that we had a public beach out here? Well, we are officially put in our boat launch.
Shut up. Oh my God. Oh my God, look at this mess. I just know Bridget is about to lose her goddamn mind.
Over the weekend, we started working on our carport, redoing some things and just fixing some rotten wood and whatnot. And it's a carport that's not attached to our home. It's separate from our home. It's kind of more on the riverside of our area of our property. And because my husband owns a renovation company, he was able to get some of the guys who works for him to help us. But we got rained out over the weekend. It rained all weekend. And today, my husband said, go ahead and just finish the carport, that we can get that done and knocked out. And I was leaving to go to lunch today and happened to see somebody, one of my neighbors, peeking their heads around the bush to try to see what we were doing, to try to see what the crew was doing, I guess. And at first I thought maybe I was just seeing things and whatever, just got in my car. But as I back out of my driveway to go to lunch,
Bridget is always lurking. Bridget is always watching.
I see her and her husband are peeking around the pole to their house to see what the crew is doing at our house. So this is a message to the neighbors. I saw you and your husband peeking around, and it gave me a pretty good laugh, actually. I'm sure we'll have code enforcement here at our house in the next few days, because I'm sure that's what they were doing. But it gave me a good laugh. It makes me want to go get one of those big
100%.
tarps and put it up and put mind your own business. So they can't see what we're doing, and they should mind their own business. Because it's on the side of our carport that they can't see unless they legitimately, I guess, peek. And I guess they couldn't see it from their cameras, so they had to come outside this time. Anyhow, pretty good laugh. I'll keep you updated if code enforcement shows up.
Raise your hand if you think Bridget is not gonna say a word about this new boat launch project they got going on. I'm waiting for people to show up any day now.
The other day I was running in my neighborhood, and on the way back from my run, I see my neighbor blowing her leaves out of her driveway and out of her yard. And as I get closer, I have to pass her house to get to my house. And I thought to myself, please, please, please do not blow these leaves on me. But to my surprise, she did not. She turned her blower off and waved at me as if her and I are best friends. And okay, just keep listening. I already know what you're thinking. But so what do? I wave back. Now, that's just out of habit or being friendly or being normal that I wave back. And I think to myself, shoot, why is she waving at me? Why is she trying to be friendly now after trying to press charges on my 13-year-old for fishing and boating and taking us to court twice and so on and so forth? Why is she waving to me as if nothing had happened? So fast forward to yesterday, I'm doing yard work in my yard, and the daughter pulls up in her car. I'm standing towards the end of my driveway, and she waves at me.
Maybe they're trying to be friends so that they can get on the in with all the renovations and projects they're working on. They're like, maybe if we kill them with kindness, we'll find out all these details, and then we'll backstab them with all the crazy shit we're gonna throw at them. That's my guess.
So what I naturally would do is wave back, and I did. And then she flips me off. So now I'm like looking behind me to see if maybe she was waving to somebody else and thought I was being sarcastic or something.
The daughter flipped you off?
But here's my point. My point is, I know you guys are thinking this is so silly. You're talking about whether your neighbors are waving to you or not, or they wave to you, and whether or not you should wave back. And you're right. It's stupid. It's so dumb that I have to worry about these types of things because my neighbor has harassed me for 3 years and has done all these things to us, and now suddenly wanting to wave to us as if she's our best friend. And then the daughter waves to me, and it's just all a mess. But I don't have proof of this because my cameras don't point directly at her house like hers does mine.
If her daughter is the one that flipped you off, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, clearly.
I just received our HOA newsletter, and it announced that December 14th is going to be our annual membership meeting. What does that mean and why is it so important? Well, that's the day that we get to vote any new members onto our HOA board and or members step down at this time. And it has been announced that our HOA board president is stepping down, as well as 2 other members of the board. So far, there are 5 people who have put their name in the hat to potentially be elected, and I will be sure to attend this meeting to put my vote in and give my opinion. And sorry to disappoint, but my name is not one of those names on the list, as that would be a conflict of interest and something that I personally wouldn't want to deal with anyway.
Is Bridget's name on the list, or her husband?
As I already have to deal with name or drama on a regular basis. In addition to our HOA president stepping down, we also had some big changes for our parish councilmen recently. As this is an election year for a lot of our local officials, and they've made some major changes. So I'm hoping that's going to be some help to me and my family.
This could change the outcome of this entire situation. We're gonna have to see.
Here's what the judge had to say.
You're telling me I finally get to see what the judge actually said? Shut up.
Our attorney is asking for an involuntary dismissal of the restraining order due to lack of evidence. He basically says, look, there's no evidence of damages. There's nothing to support their claims. So we would like to ask for an involuntary dismissal of the restraining order. And then their attorney is like, wait. This is why we think we need one. Their attorney says, look, Mr. Judge, she's on TikTok saying that they want to act and engage in violence. And she's supporting the comments that are being made on this TikTok. And that is one of the reasons we need this injunction, is because my clients are fearful of her now. Here is the TikTok that they're referencing.
But, girl, I see the police are out there again. What is it this time? Give her an uppercut. Do they arrest her? Girl, I would not.
And then their attorney also said, oh, and she also tried to threaten my client with her car. And my attorney's like, whoa, wait, where's this coming from? That's never happened. Show me proof of that. When did this happen? Etc., etc. So the judge is like, okay, listen, there's no evidence of this. Yes, I am granting the involuntary dismissal of the restraining order, and he's going to go down the list of items that they claimed we were doing and address those individually. So you'll see that here, and the underline is, I underlined a few things. Sorry, it looks a little kindergartenish, but it is important things. The judge basically says, look, I haven't seen any evidence of there being any harassment except in their own minds.
Except in their own minds. Literally, like, does she not get she's doing this all to herself? There could be no issues. There really could be absolutely no issues.
Then he talks about the river here, which is probably one of the most important parts because it addresses the trespassing part and the reason why they weren't able to get us on trespassing, because we are not trespassing. But you'll see here that he talks about the river specifically. And then I underline that important part. I'm going to tell you right now, that's not your water directly behind your house. That belongs to all of us.
There it is.
He basically says, look, I was listening to you very intently. I see your concern. She hasn't defamed you. She hasn't named your names. But if she had, I could see there would be a concern. And here we talk about the famous Be Gone cup. And the judge basically says, it made me think of the cup that Mrs. Me is trying to sell online. If it had her name on it, then there might have been something. It might have been something different. But it's pretty vague. And it's not referring to her. And Their attorney tries to say, that's what I was going to say within the context, and it's pretty plain. And the judge is like, not really. So there you have it. The neighbors try to say that the judge basically reamed us the whole time, tried to give us a hard time the whole time, but there it is in black and white.
I mean, a judge can literally look them in the eyes and say, ma'am, I'm going to tell you right now that water is not yours, and they will still sit there and fight and believe that that water is theirs. Cuckoo bonkers.
Last night was our HOA board meeting. I don't typically attend the board meetings, but last night I made sure to attend because I wanted to discuss the tree limb incident and how now I feel my neighbors are harassing us through the HOA. I wanted to know what type of policies and procedures they had in place for complaints like this, because had the HOA president took the time to come by my home to see if the tree limbs were indeed an issue, he would have saw that I was still in the process of cutting limbs. Instead, he just took the neighbor's word for it. And I know this is a very unique situation, but that's what makes policies and procedures so unique, right? When unique situations happen, things are put into place. However, it turned heated because he had the audacity to look at me and say he didn't really care what I thought.
Okay, these people have to have ins. You know what I mean? Bridget and her husband, they gotta have ins with some of these people, or someone might be getting paid under the table, because I don't know.
And let me tell you, another board member laid into him regarding this. All I can say is if I'm ever in a fight, I want her on my side. And another member said
maybe
that he
I'm
was
wrong.
aware that we were being singled out by our neighbors and that he knew this was an ongoing problem. I was also blown away to know that all the HOA board members were not aware of the type of communication that was going on between the neighbors and the HOA board. Because the president himself was the one making these decisions and not bringing it to the actual board themselves. However, I did learn that the neighbors are so adamant in the fact that this fence is going to remain there that they said even if the judge himself told them to take it down, they're going to appeal it. And they're going to take it all the way to the Supreme Court. I seriously can't make this stuff up, guys.
They're crazy. The Supreme Court, they have bigger issues to deal with than your stupid fence. Like, at what point do you just let your ego go?
Imagine living next door to someone who has a high-end position in the military, who has a position in the military that you should trust them because they serve the people and they protect us. Imagine living next door to somebody who has a high-end position in the corporate world. These same people, you speak to them, they seem kind, caring, nice family. But what you don't know and what you don't see is that these same people, in my opinion, are hateful, cruel individuals.
Wait, so they do have some type of, I don't know what the word would be, like superiority? Maybe even in their own mind. But they do have some ins in the community. Interesting.
They will do anything to prevent children from fishing and boating. They will do anything to win. They will do anything to stop the kids from playing outside. Because in my opinion, they don't like children. In my opinion, they put up a spite fence in the river.
I like that she's wording it, in my opinion. Because in legal cases, she's not saying they don't like children. She's saying, in my opinion.
Allegedly.
That's a little way around that.
So never judge a book by its cover. Because that person who you think you should respect because they have a high-end position in the military or they have a great position in the corporate world and appear to be nice may not be what you think.
Maybe because of their positions, that's where this entitlement is coming from. What did it look like before digging and before the fence? I've always wanted to see this. Look at those pictures. Oh, dream property. Look how beautiful. Yeah, it's literally out of a movie. Oh, come on. This is our property he is fishing from. This is our property he is standing on. Thank you for clarifying. Come on. Oh, the fence. crap. Absurd. God, that just made me even angrier because it was so truly beautiful before.
Some of you have had questions as to whether or not us digging changed how much water was in or around the fence, and the answer is no. There has always been water around the fence. There was recently time where it was so low, the river was so low because of a drought, there was hardly any water on our side. Now, some of you have mentioned, oh, but when you dug, there was dry dirt. Correct. We waited till the water was as low as possible to dig so we could see where we were digging. But let me show you something. You see how we have there no water? Well, when we dug, the guy who dug put a wall almost around where the water would be coming in to stop it from coming in as he dug, so he could see how deep he was going, where the fence was, so we didn't dig into her land, and make sure that we knew where we were digging the whole time. After he was finished digging, then right there, and let me bring myself up here, right there, he let the wall go and all the water started coming in. So obviously, as you can see, if he had not done that, all that water over here would have been coming in. And that's why you see us digging dry dirt, was because we put up that wall to prevent the water from coming in while we were digging. And again, you can see it on that side over there. So as we were digging, we were pushing it back and making that wall so it wouldn't come in as we were digging.
This is genius to take photos and videos of everything, because you know she's going to bring this to somebody and claim all sorts of things.
As you may know, we've had a ton of rain in Louisiana in the past few days, and the river has steady been coming up. Now, although it is not as high as it has been in the past, it's still on the high side. And do you notice anything? Do you see a fence? Do you see wires running across the waterway? No? That's because it is almost completely submerged. No trespassing signs, wire, as well as aluminum poles underneath the water.
Anyone with a boat would not see that. That could be so dangerous with the wires. Or for the wires, the fence.
Some want to argue that there's not a significant amount of boat traffic behind the homes. But to me, that shouldn't matter. Safety is safety.
Insane.
And this is completely unsafe. And remember the 2 pieces of bamboo that we talked about earlier? They're completely submerged, as well as the new garden. Again, this is just more of a note to say, hey, the water is completely submerging this new garden that they've put in. It has nothing to do with us using the water. Here's a picture of it as the river was starting to come up. Here's a picture as the river was coming up, or coming up more. And what's this?
Wow.
That wouldn't happen to be mulch or dirt, would it? Man, this water sure is getting wild.
I don't know if I've ever wanted something so badly for someone else in my life. I want that fence removed. I think about it all the time. I really do.
I'm so excited to share that we took a boat ride for the first time since digging our boat launch.
Oh, wow. Oh, it's a little POV. Okay, everyone, put your life jackets on. Let's pretend we're getting in this boat. Oh, there's the fence we know and love. Oh my God, look at this. Beautiful.
No wake zone.
Be careful. Hello, river. This is unreal. I really feel like I'm there. I wish I was. Invite me. Wow! In between all these trees? On our way back. Oh my God, how are you not hitting any of these trees? Oh, because you gotta go around. That was my favorite part of this entire series. That was fun. Life jacket hung back up.
Around the same time, they added an addition to their flower bed below the high water mark. I made note of it because I wanted to be sure that it was documented that this flower bed was added after we dug our boat launch and around the time they requested for a no-wake zone to be put in. The flower bed just so happens to be very close to where we launch our boat, and that so that even a ripple would go through that flower bed if the water is high when we launch our boat. So as expected, when the river came up, the flower bed went under.
Wow.
After the river came down the first time, they added more dirt and made it even higher. Yet the river came back up and it went back underwater because it's at the lowest mark of their property near our boat launch.
Mm-hmm.
And most recently, this guy has detached himself from the flower bed. And it doesn't look like these guys are much further behind
that looks
them.
terrible.
So once again, just here to make note that this guy decided to detach himself. We had not been in the river recently, and so that has nothing to do with us, nor these guys.
But we know that Bridget will try to make it like it was because of your boat launch.
For those of you who are wondering what is going on with my neighbor's garden, I'm here to tell you.
Tell me.
This picture really doesn't do it justice. It really doesn't. The river's come down. Now there's just like sand and a little dirt left. And if you remember that little guy over there in the corner that was trying to escape, she was out there with a stick, scooping it up yesterday. And then today, they're over there putting more mulch and dirt in it. I mean, I really feel like I can create a TikTok page just based on my neighbor's garden because this is crazy. It's insane. Because here's the funny thing. Yes, the river is down, but it's coming right back up. I feel like, how does she not know this? If she's ever going to watch any of my TikToks, this is the one she should watch. Because guess what? Hey, the river's coming back up. Stop putting dirt back in your garden. Because it's just going to leave again. I mean, at this point, I'm really not trying to be ugly. I thought you were smarter than this. Like, I just don't understand why we're still putting dirt and mulch in the garden. That's going to go back underwater.
I'm trying to help you. I don't know why she's trying so hard to keep this garden, honestly. Like, you're fighting against nature and water levels. You're not gonna win.
Hey TikTokers, I have a few updates for you. One, first and foremost, the fence. I sent a letter about 2 weeks ago, I guess now, maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more, a letter to the parish saying how dangerous this fence was and how much of a hazard it is to the general public. I was told by our local parish councilman that the parish is not going to change their opinion of the fence, and so the fence is going to remain.
Who's paying the parish? What's happening here?
I don't agree with that decision. I do think it's a very dangerous fence. Again, because it has wire, you can't see it. I wouldn't actually call it maybe a fence, but that's their decision, and so it remains. My personal opinion is, if the neighbors were so worried about their liability side of things because they believe they own the water, which is not true, this right here is more of a liability than anything else that they have said is a liability. Second, the no wake zone. I was also told by the parish councilman that they had decided to go ahead and install the no wake zone sign, even though it can't be regulated or enforced. I also wrote a detailed letter as to why I believe that this no wake sign is just another way or another tool for the neighbors to harass my family. I haven't heard anything back on that. A no wake zone sign has not been installed at this time. I also had the news station reach out to me, as well as a TV show called Neighbor Wars. I'm not sure at this time whether or not I'm going to do either.
Girl, if you do the show, tell me when it airs.
It is mentally exhausting dealing with bad neighbors. It's even more exhausting documenting, reporting things, keeping track of everything that's been going on, fearful that you may end up back in court. So for now, I don't know if I'm going to do the news interview, and I don't know if I'm going to participate in the show, because I refuse to let my neighbors not only harass me, but take my peace. So with that being said, hi, I'm Alicia, aka Boy Mom. Welcome to my new chapter of TikTok, where I don't give a shit if the neighbor calls the police on my children 30 more times until her fingers break. she is not going to take the peace and enjoyment away from my family. And we will continue to live our life and be happy and enjoy this beautiful piece of property that my husband and I worked very hard for.
Crazy. However, I would only want to watch the show if I think Bridget should also be on it. I would truly like to hear Bridget's side of things. We're only getting one side of the story. Even if hers is the wrong one, I still want to hear it from her perspective, truly.
Yes, things have been awfully quiet since December. We haven't had any sheriffs at our house and or local authorities.
Just so you guys know, that was December 2023. In case you're getting confused with all these dates, we have made it to the beginning of 2024.
Since December, when she called claiming we stole her dirt. Although I am enjoying the peace and quiet, this is typical. It's winter time. We're not using our boats as much. We are not out and about as much. The weather is cold and it's not as pretty, and we don't fish as much in the cold weather. I'm hoping that with the weather warming up and us being out and about more and the kids getting ready to be out of school, that we can still have some peace and quiet, meaning no police calls at our home, no local authorities showing up over bogus stuff.
That's wishful
I do
thinking.
believe this is going to be a telltale summer because she has done everything she can possibly do to try to get us in trouble. She's fabricated stories. She's called every local authority she can. She's called the sheriff, the wildlife and fishery. I don't have to rehash it all, but you know it. She's called it. So to me, I feel like she's running out of ideas, or has to be running out of ideas. And truthfully, she has made numerous comments about my TikToks to other authorities, local authorities in the sheriff's office and whatnot, saying that when she calls, I document it on TikTok and I'm going to talk about it on TikTok, and she's right. I am going to continue to do that. So if she doesn't like that, then she should stop harassing my family. So hopefully this will be another reason, my TikTok will be another reason for her to just leave us alone and let us live our life. And like I said, so we'll get to see this summer how things go. And of course, I'll keep you guys updated and we'll be documenting everything if anything does occur.
I mean, at least you got a little break over the winter, a little peace and quiet for the holidays. Okay. Oh, all right. So there's a note here. In April, she posted a TikTok that said, I'm taking a break from TikTok. And that was in April of 2024. This next update comes from May 2024. So she took a month off and here we are.
It's the first day of summer. Very first day. The boys are out of school. We're outside working in the yard, and my 14-year-old is fishing from our property line here, and his fishing line got stuck in the fence. So he gets in the hero and tries to untangle it. The neighbor is outside watching. The minute he touches the fence area to get the fishing line off, she starts yelling at him to not touch her fence. Here's the interaction.
Oh my God! I have waited how many videos have I done? 4 videos to actually see in real time a conversation with this lady. Oh my God, I'm so excited right now. This is crazy.
Do not talk to her.
Hey, he's just getting his fishing lure out the fence.
No need to yell at my son. What did you say?
These poor kids.
Please do not talk to my son. His fishing line's caught in a fence that's in the water. He can get it untangled. Do not talk to my son. Do not talk to my son. He will get the fishing line untangled. Did you hear what I said? Did you hear what I said? I think you heard me. This is how unreasonable of a person she is.
I couldn't. I would need so much therapy to deal with someone like that on a daily basis. I really would.
To put a fence in the water, that again, we've talked about many times, is very dangerous, but also causes issues like this. And then she wants to fuss because she put a fence in the water and doesn't want anybody near the fence that's in the middle of a river.
I can't handle any more summers of this, so I hope that this is resolved by the time we get to today.
If you saw my previous video of my neighbor yelling at my boys for their fishing line getting tangled in the fence that they put in the water, you would know that we're pretty exhausted and irritated. But regardless of all of that, we still were going to enjoy our property for the Memorial Day weekend and had people over and played our music. Even though they were outside in their backyard working, we're not going to let them hinder our fun. So we played music, and then our friends wanted to see the TikToks. So we showed them and played it on a loudspeaker for the entire neighborhood to hear. And of course the neighbor as well, since they were out there working in their yard.
So you have dirt? Yeah, it's dirt. Like all the dirt that was, that they were digging.
Okay. So your complaint is that whoever was excavating or digging stuff up, dug up some of your dirt.
Yes.
Do you want your dirt back?
Yes.
I can't.
Not only did we play music, but we also boated and fished and did everything we like to do.
Insane. Oh, I want to come. That looks so fun. Bridget, you are pushing this lady past a breaking point here. We've now reached a level of petty, and I am here for it only because Bridget has built an anger inside of me.
Did you know that it's illegal to harass a fisherman or try to prevent a fisherman or boater or hunter from fishing or hunting? According to the statute, no person shall engage in the following activities: disturb any hunter, trapper, or fisherman who is engaged in the lawful taking of a wildlife animal or who is engaged in the process of taking with intent to dissuade or otherwise prevent the taking or to prevent such person's enjoyment of the outdoors. Example violations include, but are not limited to, intimidating someone to leave a fishing spot or brushed fishing hole, motion-activated sounds or water sprinklers or docks to dissuade the public from fishing, or aggressively operating your boat around others actively fishing to persuade them to leave. And did you know if you did these things that you can receive a citation for it? Well, I'm not sure if the neighbor knew this law or not, but it's there.
Oh no.
To protect those who enjoy fishing in the outdoors. And today, the neighbor received a citation for doing just that, for harassing a boater and fisher trying to enjoy the outdoors, trying to dissuade them from enjoying the outdoors, to ask, trying to get them to leave, trying to get them to stop doing those things. So today, after 4 years of this going back and forth and things going on, we're finally being heard, and action is finally being taken. I hope this opens their eyes some to realize that these boys are just wanting to enjoy the outdoors, fish, and be kids, and they're not hurting or harming anyone or anything. So we'll see how the things unfold in the future, but hopefully this is something that has opened their eyes to say they're in the wrong.
Oh, I don't think we're gonna hear Bridget say she's in the wrong at all in this entire series. We have finally reached the final update of the series. This video will take us up to date in real time on the entire situation.
I'm the one that called the wildlife agency, or the wildlife and fishery agents. And I actually spoke to, I believe he's a lieutenant, but I'm not completely sure. And he came out personally himself. He walked my property, saw the area, then he went and spoke to her. I don't know all what was said. She has a kind of a louder, high-pitched voice to begin with, in my opinion, so I can't say she was yelling or upset or what her mood was towards the agent, but I do know she did receive that citation. I don't know the details of that, nor do I have a copy of the report yet, but I will most certainly request a copy when it's ready. And but it is illegal to harass a fisherman, and that's exactly what she's done for quite a while. She has a history of it, and now we're just going to be more due diligent and make sure that we have our documentation and proof We're adding more cameras to our property. I don't care if she sees this video, because I hope she sees that we're going to be more, pay more attention, put these cameras up. We're no longer going to allow this harassment, and we want our boys to be able to fish and enjoy the property and do so without being harassed.
I just know Bridget is sitting there watching every single upload you post. Obviously.
For those of you who don't know, there's an octopus missing in the neighborhood. Kid you not, we're pretty sure it was stolen.
Hold on. What is happening? A real ass octopus. You know, little dangly legs. Like, he's a real octopus was in your neighborhood and is now missing. Okay. I don't know how to take this seriously, but okay.
And there has been signs put out, stolen.
What?
And this particular octopus was a metal statue on top of someone's mailbox, and someone has stolen it.
And here I was in this whole last 15 seconds looking like a fucking idiot. We're not going to continue watching this video, you guys, because if it was a real octopus, I might, but I want to get to just the neighbor stuff.
Our cat recently came up missing. Now, I'm not blaming anybody or pointing any fingers or accusing anybody of anything, so let's get that out there first. But is it coincidence or is it not that our neighbors recently received a citation for harassing our boys, and then a few days later, our cat comes up missing?
And let's not forget, you already had an issue with your cat going into her house and her feeding your cat and all that. But is she crazy enough to steal your cat?
Now, he's an outdoor cat. I get it. He can be anywhere. Anything could have happened. But he's well fed. He's fed dry food, wet food every single morning and evening, as well as given treats every now and then. Our boys play with him on a regular basis. We have a large yard. He rarely leaves our yard. He's always around. So for him to leave, there's usually a reason, right? But I do know the neighbors love cats. They've made it very clear to us in text messages in the past. She's in fact brought him into her house in the past, and when I confronted her and stopped, I don't know what happened to our cat. I hopefully, fingers crossed, he comes back, because we love Banana. He's a big fatty and we miss him. Oh, and Banana! It's a shame. I sure as heck hope that it's just, I don't know, I just hope that nothing bad's happened to him, and I hope he comes back. But I figured I'd share, I figured I'd document this, and I'll keep you guys posted. Hopefully he comes back.
Raise your hand if you think Bridget is crazy enough to steal this woman's cat. You know what? I think she has it in her based off the behavior we've seen, but I don't think she stole the cat. That's where I stand. Also, don't know why I said banana like that. I wouldn't blame you for unsubscribing. I truly would. In my head, I unsubscribed from myself in that moment.
This is the lowest the river's been since we've dug our property, and wow, look how much water still comes in even when it is this low. The river does fluctuate often, but when it's dead low, like you see here, it does not like to come all the way up where we typically would launch, which is why she put that fence and why we had to dig. Look how beautiful these cypress trees are whenever the river is low. 19 trees total, which is why it makes it tough for the boys to fish on this side of our property, and the reason they need to fish on this other side over here, which is again why she put the fence. Because she simply does not want them to fish. There's still a ton of work to be done, as you can see. Sand, dirt, sod, and we have big plans that I can't wait to share. But our plans are on hold for now until the parish fixes the sinkholes from a small drainage issue in the drainage easement. Once that's complete in the next few weeks, we will get back to work. For those of you who have asked, yes, there are alligators in the river. This is a small guy. A few weeks ago, there was a 10-footer, but she has since left. If the alligators become an issue, we call the nuisance line and the wildlife and fishery agent will come out and scoop them up. As you can see, we have a lot of bamboo from the neighbor's property growing onto ours, but we've trimmed those back as much as we can because we have big plans for this side of our property as well. So stay tuned.
You lost me at alligator, let me tell you that. Yeah. Now, the invite to your beach, I don't know if I want to be there anymore. I did always wonder why you guys didn't just fish on the other side. Not that I think you should have to. I think that fence is stupid, but I did wonder if it'd be easier if you just, but now it makes sense.
Remember when my neighbor was yelling at my son for fishing from our property here, and his fishing line got stuck in the fence that she has put in the river? The report is in from the wildlife fishery agent report where they wrote her a ticket for harassing my son for fishing.
It's like Christmas morning anytime she whips out actual evidence of this entire thing. So exciting.
And the report confirms how ridiculous she really is. And it confirms how adamant she is that she truly believes that she owns the river water. Because not only has almost every agency that has been here told her that she does not own the river, the judge himself, the sheriff's office, and now in black and white, the wildlife and fishery agents, and she still does not believe it. Now pause and read.
We're not, but I'll listen to her spark notes.
This is page 1 of 3, but I want to specifically mention here on page 1 how it confirms that the water behind our homes are indeed part of the river, and how it fluctuates daily, and that it goes off of the river gauge just like the river does, as I have demonstrated and shown in many of my videos, and how we use the river gauge to see what the river level is going to be behind our home, to know which sandbar we would like to go to depending on the height of the river, etc., etc. Here's page 2 of 3. Paragraph 2 is upsetting and exactly why I'm fighting for my boys. The report shows how much she contradicts herself. She knows exactly what she's trying to do. She knows she's lying. She knows she's trying to make something into something that it's not. And the wildlife agents seen right through it. This is page 3 of 3.
Literally the top line of this page. The water itself was not owned by the subject. The husband nodded in agreement. Her husband, like, is he not losing his mind over this entire thing? And is like, sweetie, we gotta put this to rest. We don't own the water.
And the first line on this page confirms maybe for once that her husband's like, hey, I know. And I guess the wife is too far gone into all of this and just cannot see it for herself, but she does not own the water of the river. I just don't get it. I'll never get it, right? How can she be so angry of a person that she doesn't want little boys to fish in the backyard of their own home?
That poor kid, man. He's probably like, damn it, my fishing line got stuck on her fence. Now I gotta go untangle it, and I know I'm gonna have to deal with her coming out here yelling at me.
I'll give you 3 guesses on who called the police, and the first 2 guesses don't count.
You gotta be kidding me.
Yep, you guessed it. The neighbors. What are we on, like call 33?
What did she call for this time?
But regardless, when you've had the police called on your family over 30 times from your neighbor, you already know that if your son's going to have his party at our house for his birthday, that you're going to expect the police to show up. It's like we've become experts at police calls. And just for the record, I just can't believe for 1 second that she could hear any type of music or anything going on, because where they were in our garage playing music, and our garage is insulated and on the complete opposite side of our home compared to where her home is, and we both live on an acre. But regardless, she called, the police did come out. I haven't pulled the report yet. Well, it's just going to be a CAD report. It's not going to be an actual full report because he didn't determine anything wrong going on. So he just said, hey, be mindful, and he left, and we continued to do our thing. But the part that's kind of comical, and you have to make light of some situations, right? Because if you don't, you'll drive your own self crazy. But when the police came, like I said, we are experts. Not everybody else is. When the police showed up, the kids scattered and ran, of course. And my son's going, don't run. Everybody calm down. It's just the police. Here's a clip from the night. And even though I'm laughing today, or not really laughing, but just making light of it, because what else am I going to do, right? We already knew it was going to happen. It's still harassment. she continues the harassment.
I mean, that's funny because I remember as a kid, oh my God, are you kidding me? The cops, especially if you're at a party and the cops rolled up. Pretty sure we threw one of my friends over a fence one time. No, not pretty sure. 100% happened. She was very intoxicated. Why am I telling this story? I'll tell it anyway. Very intoxicated, high school party, you know the drill. It was in my friend's backyard. Cops were called, they showed up, and she just wasn't moving fast enough. So, you know, we all just had to whoop. She ran real fast after that.
I get this question a lot, so I figured I would address it.
Honestly, I get this question a lot in the comments, so I'm happy this is being addressed. Why doesn't she have to remove the fence? So many people keep saying that, but why? How does it not break a code? Let's get the answer.
The reason they're telling me they cannot have her remove the fence is because she owns the land beneath the water, just not the water itself, right? So while I can fish, boat, kayak, all we want on that portion of the water, we cannot physically get out of the boat and stand on that land that's under that water. And that's because it's hers, and that would be trespassing. The part that I don't understand, and that's mind-boggling to me, and that anybody has yet to be able to explain to me, is the type of materials that are used to put this fence up. The galvanized wire that runs across the waterway that can hardly be seen, that is super dangerous. How is it allowed? I don't know. Why it's allowed? I'm not sure. And what's also mind-boggling to me is that the way the law reads in Louisiana is you cannot use anything to prevent someone from fishing. Not only can you not harass them from fishing, but you can't use something to prevent them from fishing. And that's exactly what this fence is doing. And she has made that very clear to many, many different departments that the reason she put this up is to prevent the boys from casting their fishing pole from our property into the water, and also to try to prevent us from using that portion of the water. Until we dug our property deeper, sometimes when the water was on the lower end or on the lower side, we wouldn't be able to get through to the main river unless we use that portion of the water. So the fence was placed there intentionally for that. There are no other sides to the fence, so clearly the fence does not serve any purpose as far as trying to fence off anything like a traditional fence would. So long story short,
yeah, I never thought of that. It's not like they put a fence literally barricading their section of the land. They literally just put it on your side to prevent you. It's a very personal thing.
No, they're not having her remove it or making her remove it, and I don't have really a direct answer aside from she does own the land beneath the water, but not the water itself. So to me, it just seems like the fence still should not be allowed. And if we're just allowed to start fencing off areas on the river, imagine if I owned a piece of property that was on the main body of the water, the main river where everyone goes, and I just decided, since I own into the waterway there, that I was going to put a fence or some type of makeshift fence or wire or whatever. Would that be allowed in the main portion of the river? Probably not. So what does it make a difference if the water is used regularly, once a week, twice a week, hardly at all? Like, what does that matter? It shouldn't. But unfortunately, it would be something that we would have to fight, and it would cost us thousands and thousands of dollars to fight it. And so I figure just let her have it, and if and when somebody gets hurt, she's liable, and potentially other departments.
Are you telling me that by the end of this series, this freaking fence is not going to be removed? There has to be a way. There has to be a loophole here.
All right, guys, here is your update from Hurricane Francine and the water fence. And as we know, it's serious when this guy shows up, right? But unfortunately not serious enough because the fence is still there and standing. I actually don't have a ton to update you on at the moment. It was a pretty low-key storm, surprisingly enough. And we were very lucky to not even lose power. However, I want to show you the river gauge because the river is definitely coming up from the storm, and as you can see, look at this drastic change. This is how we follow the river gauge, as mentioned many of times before. And this is how we determine whether or not the river is going to be high or low, or what the river is going to do behind our home. And as well, it was mentioned in the Wildlife and Fishery Agents report. This next clip I'm about to show you was during the storm, and you could see how much the water was pouring into the river from the rain and the neighborhood and the drains and whatnot.
Oh, dang. Her entire fence is going to be buried.
Really, the winds weren't terrible until later that night, and most of the time it was a pretty low-key storm like mentioned. Now today, this picture is from today, you can see the debris starting to come in. We see some tree limbs and a few logs, but nothing major or crazy. Overall, very lucky, and her
flower bed is drowned again.
Well, for the storm. I hope everybody else did as well.
I was not so secretly hoping that that fence was going to be torn down or destroyed by the hurricane. That would have been the universe helping you out, but apparently not. Next update, this is from November 1st, 2024. We're getting there.
Next week is the court date for the violation that my neighbor received for harassing the boys while they were fishing. October 9th, actually, to be exact. And
what?
But here's the thing, if my neighbor chooses not to pay,
why did I think she just got a ticket? I didn't know we were going to court.
Not to pay the violation, then she has to appear in court. If she chooses to pay it, then she doesn't have to appear in court. Just like a regular standard ticket you would receive in, driving a car or whatnot. My husband and I intend to be there. It is about an hour and a half away from our home, so we're gonna stay there the night before. We'll make a day of it if she chooses to pay the violation, because we most likely will not know until the last minute. So we're prepared either way. And of course, I'll be bringing all of my documentation that I don't know that I'll be able to use or not, but I will definitely be bringing it to be prepared in the event that I can use it. I will say that since the violation, we haven't heard much from her. It has been very quiet. I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch to say that she's realized that what she's doing is crazy, but nor will she probably ever realize that. But at least I do know that it has been quiet since the violation, and hopeful that this is a sign of some peace in the future. I will be updating you guys as I know more, and will definitely fill you in on everything that happens in court.
I personally believe she will be showing up to court because I don't think her ego will allow her to pay that ticket. So that's my guess.
You guys have been patiently waiting on an update, and it has just been one heck of a day. You guys aren't going to believe the outcome.
Oh my God, tell us.
It is definitely just, the story continues. We got there around 9 a.m. They put us in a separate room, just me, my husband, and my two boys. We ended up not staying out because the boys were coming to court. When we got there, I'm not sure if she was there or not yet, but the two wildlife and fishery agents who wrote the citation was there, as well as their attorney who was going to represent them. At some point in time, she had went in the room where the judge would be. The judge was on Zoom, and we waited for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, give or take a little bit. And then a gentleman comes in the room. I'm not sure if he was their attorney. I'm actually not even sure who he is now that I think about it. But he appeared to run everything and talk with everybody and let everybody know what's going on. So when he came in, he let us know that the neighbors had asked for a continuance because they said they were not prepared, and that they wanted to have their attorney present, and that they were not able to enter their security cam footage into evidence prior to, and they wanted to be able to do that beforehand. So they asked for a continuance. Now, to put it in perspective, she received this citation on May 31st. So that's roughly 4.5 months ago. She had plenty of time to prepare. She had plenty of time to get her attorney present, and she chose to ask for a continuance, and it was granted.
No! What is this judge? Okay. Someone's got to be paying these people off. Come on. The judge is like, oh, you couldn't get your security cam footage within 4 months? The security cam footage that's literally just going to show a kid trying to untie his line from your fence? Like, What do you mean? What are you gathering?
The citation is $200. She says she's going to contest it. And I know what's on that evidence that she has is only going to prove our case more. What's mind-boggling to me is that it just proves how ridiculous she is and how persistent she is in this matter of our boys fishing, that she would hire an attorney to come to court with her 2 hours from his location over a $200 fine.
Insane.
That there's plenty of evidence of what she is being accused of is true. And I can't wrap my mind around it. I don't think I ever will be able to. It just adds to what I believe is her insanity or obsession with us. It's just very, very bizarre to me that she would want to contest this. It is so bizarre that the wild fishery agents in the office that we had to go to today, or the courtroom, wasn't even able to give us the procedures of how things happen, because they said it never typically gets this far. Our court date was continued to January 15th. So yet again, now we wait. Today, my husband and I took off of work. My boys missed school. It's just, I guess it shouldn't surprise me, right? She will do whatever she can to try to cause chaos in our lives.
What day is it? January 7th. God, I gotta wait till January 15th to find out what happens? I told y'all. I told you, her ego is bigger than a $200 ticket that she could have just paid and moved on with her life. This is gonna take us into 2026, mark my words.
Yes, our entire front yard is dug up. This is why I've mentioned a couple times that we were holding off on finishing our boat launch, because I knew this project was in the works and was going to be done soon. When we purchased our home, there was a sinkhole. We were aware of it. We had contacted the parish about it. So now, fast forward, almost 5 years later, the project is being completed. Basically, our entire neighborhood drains, not actually our entire neighborhood, the back portion of our neighborhood drains through our yard, underneath our yard, and the piping was sinking and causing our front yard to sink and have these sinkholes all over. Now, needless to say, our yard is a disaster. They have to come across here, they have to come across my entire driveway into our boat launch area. They're tearing up our driveway, as you can see right there. And this will go across all the way to our boat launch. But here's the kicker. The drainage also comes across from over here and has caused sinkholes over here by our driveway. And where does that pipe run?
Oh,
you guessed it.
My gosh.
The neighbor's driveway. So her driveway has to be removed, a portion of her driveway. Not as big of a project as mine, obviously, because mine has most of it. But I'm going to fill you in on all of the details of what is going on with that soon. But once all this is complete, then we are going to go back to getting our boat launch squared away. There's not a whole lot to be done, but we, of course, didn't want to put the finishing sod and rock and all that stuff until this was complete.
We all know how Bridget is going to react to that, and somehow you're going to get the blame for that project and her driveway being torn up. I just know it. All right, this takes us to December 16th, and this is the last neighbor update as of now, but I will be, keeping my eye on that.
Well, after what felt like forever, but was really about a month and a half, the parish has officially finished the drainage project at my home, and our boat launch is back together and looking very nice. As mentioned in a previous video, they had to pull up a good portion of our driveway to get underneath because the drainage on our yard was sinking from rotting pipe, and the backside of our neighborhood drains beneath our yard, so it had to be repaired by the parish. But not only did they have to pull up my driveway, they had to pull up a little small piece of the neighbor's driveway because that portion was rotting out as well. But it was a very minor spot. However, that part that had to be pulled up did prevent her from going in and out of her driveway because it was the only way in or out. Surprisingly, she did not cause a ton of issues during this process. I did hear through the grapevine she did make some unreasonable requests, such as the fact that she couldn't drive in her driveway for a day was upsetting to her, and they told her to park on the street, and she said that she couldn't park on the street because the HOA wouldn't allow it, even though, as we all know, there are exceptions to rules here. And she wanted to know if they were going to build a bridge for her to be able to access her property, or whether or not they were going to have the concrete fully set in, and if they didn't, then if her car sank in the concrete, she would need it replaced. And just you know, she's a little bit over the top, in my opinion. And that's what I'm starting to realize, is that she's just over the top with most people, not just us. But truthfully, other than that, there wasn't anything from her. I don't hardly see her. She hardly comes out, and it's actually been pretty peaceful. Since the Wildlife and Fishery Agency wrote her a ticket for harassment, things have calmed down. But I want to make note that we have not really used the river that much, because the river has been at a dead low for quite a while. But also, it's just been, we've been extremely busy, been out of town, back and forth, and so we really haven't had the opportunity to use the river. So I will be interested to see how things play out as we move forward here. The fence is still there, and most likely will still remain, although we do have court coming up in January, which, as you know, was postponed from last month.
I was really hoping by 2025 this was going to be resolved. So I'm wishing you the best of luck in 2025. I would say Happy New Year, but you have court in like a week. I can't believe we're 5 years into this story. This is crazy. Of course, I'll keep you updated though. Stay classy out there, stay sassy, and I'll see you tomorrow.